Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Let you conquer the abyss, and you become the king of the abyss. Chapter 61. Xiao Yu died very simply. He couldn't bear the humiliation, so he committed suicide on the spot and exited the secret realm, leaving all the props on the ground. They were all the things Xiao Yu had won in this secret realm, and most of them were the team's gains that had not been distributed in time. The scene became very awkward for a while. Looking at the pile of shiny props, Chu Ran couldn't help but sigh. This buddy is really fierce, no wonder he dared to rob me. He said he would die, he is a ruthless person. The Terror Lord, who was like a noble, was also embarrassed at this moment. He pretended not to hear Chu Ran's words, and glanced at the berserker next to him with his dark golden eyes. The berserker hesitated for a few seconds, pointed at himself and said, "The atmosphere has come to this, how about I die too?" The Terror Lord raised his hand, as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say, so he could only say, "Challenger, with your current strength, you are not enough to fight me, go back and make more preparations." It can be said that he was very sincere. The berserker felt so wrong that he was speechless for a long time and said, "We didn't mean to challenge you. What the hell is going on? Die, bye." He also committed suicide. Some scraps fell off with a crackling sound. It was in sharp contrast to Xiao Yu's pile of props. The whole hall fell silent instantly. The Terror Lord cleared his throat and said to himself, "A good dinner time is ruined like this. Alas, I don't know when my butler will be resurrected." He took a stiff step and prepared to go back, intending to play dumb to the end. "No, there is another family here, please pay attention to me." How could Chu Ran let him run away? He stepped in front of him and waved his hand. The Terror Lord looked straight ahead and resolutely ignored Chu Ran. He almost had the desire to survive written on his face. It was the first time Chu Ran encountered such a situation. He found it very strange and said happily, "I said, can you understand what I am saying? Intelligent abyss creature. The weather is getting colder. Let's ask the housekeeper to prepare more heaters later." The Terror Lord shook his head and sighed, with his hands behind his back, and his posture was a little hunched. Chu Ran's face was dark, and he put the boning knife directly on the neck of the Terror Lord, grinning, "What do you mean? Do you want me to die too? Or do you want me to kill you? I'll ask you one last time, hurry up, can we communicate?" Calm down, calm down. This knife is very sharp." The Terror Lord couldn't pretend anymore, and said hurriedly, we can communicate too much. "Where did you get the fool's bones?" Chu Ran was amused by his cowardly behavior, and patted his face with the blade. "You are the Terror Lord. What's the matter? I see you can kill several living people in one meal. You are a good eater." Misunderstood. The secret realm is full of afterimages of the present world, but I didn't really eat them. The Terror Lord shook his head and said with a wry smile, "Sir, what are you doing in my little place? Is there anything I can help you with?" He touched his chest and saluted, and said very seriously, "As long as I can help you, just tell me." Hearing this, Chu Ran thought for a few seconds and said, "There is really a place where you can help." The Terror Lord's face became serious, "Please tell me." Chu Ran took back the knife, and made a Night Battle 8 direction hidden knife style, gesturing to the Terror Lord's chest, and said meaningfully, "I'll lend you your head." Slow. Wait. Spare his life. The Terror Lord knelt down with a plop. This kneeling made Chu Ran unable to do anything. I have seen monsters scared away by my abyss kingship, but this is the first time that a boss was scared to kneel down. This secret realm boss has such a high IQ. Chu Ran blinked and asked, "Are you afraid of me?" The Terror Lord nodded repeatedly, staring at Chu Ran's back, trembling and said, "The pressure from a big shot like you is as dazzling as the sun to me. Stop flattering me. Disgusting, disgusting." Chu Ran looked disgusted, and then said, "You have become the boss of the secret realm. You will be resurrected even if you are killed. What, when others come to kill you, you also kneel down and beg for mercy?" "That's different, sir," the Terror Lord hurriedly explained. "Although we have become eternal beings in the secret realm, high-level abyss creatures with wisdom like me will lose their self-will as the number of deaths increases." He looked at Chu Ran in fear, "And I saw you kill my butler, you took its power. If I am killed by you once, my self-will probably disappear completely. Is there such a thing?" Chu Ran pondered. "Is it the effect of the abyss feast? Killing abyssal creatures by yourself can extract blood points, and this blood point may be the core power of abyssal creatures. The formation of the secret realm is the product of the birth of a powerful abyssal node. This node may become the entrance to the abyss, or it may intercept a tiny fragment of the abyss to form a secret realm between the abyss and the present world. In short, the terrifying lord in front of him really exists in the abyss. He may have died or evolved into a more powerful existence. But now he is an independent individual with his own will, and has become an eternal existence in the secret realm. It's just that the core power that maintains his will wear out as the number of deaths increases, and sooner or later it will completely dissipate. If Chu Ran kills him with a knife, he may become a boss without wisdom. This is why he was so scared. After Chu Ran figured it out, he held up the boning knife and said, "So, if I kill you with this knife, you will be really dead. The resurrected you will have nothing to do with the present." The Terror Lord nodded repeatedly. "Sir, spare my life," he said shamelessly. "I am willing to serve you as my master and take out all my treasures to offer to you." "Stop bragging," Chu Ran said. "You have a tiny treasure. In such a big castle, there is only a cook and a housekeeper left. When Shushu comes to your house, he has to leave a bag of rice. Don't you know how poor you are?" The Terror Lord said with embarrassment. "There is no way. Except for the housekeeper and the cook, the monsters generated in the secret realm are all without IQ. I don't even have anyone to talk to. I am almost going crazy. If it doesn't work, I will open the collection room. There are some small things in it. No, there are some of my collections. Do you see if you like them?" The Terror Lord asked tentatively. There was no other way. He had to fight hard to survive. "The collection room," Chu Ran hummed and raised his chin. "Lead the way. Master, please come this way." The Terror Lord climbed up swiftly and bent sideways to lead the way for Chu Ran. "Is this your collection room?" Chu Ran looked at the room of about 100 square meters in front of him. Apart from rows of empty display cabinets and broken boxes covered with dust, there was not even a decent thing. This desolate scene made Chu Ran's hand holding the knife tremble uncontrollably. A feeling of being deceived came to his mind. Chu Ran squinted at the Terror Lord. "Do you want to think about it again? Think about it for your life." The Terror Lord was also embarrassed. He was so anxious that he was about to sweat. "What's going on? I didn't do this last time." "Wait, when was the last time? 30 years ago? 50 years ago? Or 80 years? I don't remember." No wonder the challengers who passed the 3-question test of the butler in recent years did not choose to enter the collection room. It turned out that it had been emptied a long time ago. The Terror Lord couldn't help but laugh and said, "I remember, there should be some good things left. I'll go find them for you." He hurried over to rummage through the boxes and kicked over several large boxes, trying to find some good stuff. As a result, in addition to a pile of worthless pots and pans, a pile of soul crystals and gravel with ominous black air were found. "Wait a minute." Chu Ran saw the pile of gravel and waved, "Bring it here for me to see." The Terror Lord was now covered in dust and dirt, and had no elegant noble demeanor at all. He quickly dragged the big box over and said, "My lord, do you need this?" Chu Ran ignored him. He looked at the gravel. "Abyss breath crystal. It's really this thing." Chu Ran thought to himself and opened his second-level task. It has been determined that it has reached level 60, and the second-level task is open. Materials: Abyssal breath crystals, 5,000. Main quest: Learn the secret of the Abyss Emperor, 1/3 of the current clues. Key item: Get the lost authority of the Abyss Emperor. Difficulty: SSS. The quest is a bit abstract, let's get enough materials first. Chu Ran sighed. This second-level quest really confused him, and the material requirements became very exaggerated, requiring 5,000 abyssal breath crystals. This thing only has a chance to drop from monsters above level 40. I didn't get much at the front line of Tianmen City. The difference with the first-level quest, which only required 500 abyssal breath fragments, is simply a world of difference. Do you have a lot of this? Chu Ran counted the crystals in this box, about 600 pieces, put them all in his backpack and looked at the Terror Lord. The Terror Lord said quickly, "A lot. A lot. This thing is worthless, and no one wants it even if it's placed in the collection room. I'll go and get it for you right now." He gathered all his strength, rolled up his sleeves and moved boxes of abyss breath crystals to Chu Ran. After collecting them all, there were about 4,800 pieces, and with the ones he had brushed, he could barely get 5,000. Chu Ran glanced at the Terror Lord who was looking around the room with his butt sticking up. Okay, that's enough. If there's any good stuff, hurry up and find it. This little stuff is not enough to buy your life. Ah, it seems that there's really nothing left. The Terror Lord's dusty face showed an embarrassed expression. I still have a few Abyss Succubus Atlas, sir, please take a look. Are you looking for death? Chu Ran's eyes widened, and he even raised his knife. The Terror Lord was so scared that his soul flew away, and he wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy again. Then Chu Ran said, why didn't you present this good stuff earlier? Next time, tell me the main point first, do you hear me? Ah, the Terror Lord didn't react. What? Bring it here. You are old and still collecting this kind of stuff. Confiscate it. I must criticize it. Chu Ran slapped the Terror Lord with the blade. Oh. The Terror Lord went to flip through a few big books in shame. Chu Ran took one. The cover was a very sinful goat-horned succubus. The fabric was so small and the scale was so large that his old face blushed. He shook his head and said, you are so poor in the abyss. How can you not even afford a good piece of clothing? Sooner or later, I will enter the abyss and liberate these poor people. The Terror Lord immediately said, then I will thank you for your generosity on behalf of the daughters of these poor families. Get out of the way. Chu Ran kicked him away and began to flip through the succubus illustrations in his hand. Abyss succubus is a general term. There are the goat-horned succubus on the cover, and there are succubus similar to elves. There are also succubus with black wings, full of evil temptation. There are even succubus that look almost the same as humans, without any special features. The only thing in common is that they are all very sinful. It's worthy of being the abyss, it's really dangerous. Chu Ran was getting more and more excited as he read, and quickly closed the book, sighing, if the abyss had sent out the succubus army in the war 200 years ago, the human race would have been defeated long ago, right? My lord, although succubus are also considered high-level abyss creatures, they have no combat power. The Terror Lord explained. The role of these succubus is not as good as that of an abyss wolf. The 3rd Legion's wolf army is very strong. Do you need me to popularize science? Chu Ran slashed with his knife, causing the Terror Lord to scream. He then sneered, you know nothing. If I were the commander of the abyss, I would have directly formed a succubus army, split it into small pieces, and sent it to the human race. I would have deducted one and given it to everyone. After 200 years, we are all one family. What's the point of fighting? The Terror Lord ran away in panic, and suddenly felt that this made sense. Although succubi have little combat power, if they are combined with the human race, wouldn't they all be one family after 200 years? He suddenly collapsed and couldn't help shouting, Queen, our 9th Legion lost so unfairly. Queen, Chu Ran's heart moved, and he poked the Terror Lord with the tip of the knife. Your boss is the Scarlet Queen, right? The Terror Lord wiped away his non-existent tears, nodded and said, I am a member of the Queen's Guard. Although I am just a small role, I am also a minister of the Queen. Oh, I heard that your Queen also left a secret realm. The clue is here with you. Chu Ran hooked his finger. Take it out. My lord, what do you want to do? The Queen's secret realm. Why don't I know there is such a thing? The Terror Lord immediately became alert. Chu Ran knew he was not telling the truth by looking at his evil behavior, and said with a grim smile, you are quite loyal, you won't tell me, right? I will chop you up and you can find it yourself. I am also thinking about you. My lord, the Terror Lord cried out and knelt at Chu Ran's feet, rubbing his thigh desperately. Each layer of the abyss is equivalent to a big world, and the Queen is the emperor of our layer of the abyss. Even if some fragments are cut off and turned into a secret realm, it is still very dangerous. Chu Ran sneered. How dangerous is it? Tell me more. In front of the ancestor of the abyss, there are still abyss creatures who dare to call themselves dangerous. Want to rebel? The Terror Lord hesitated for a long time. Well, it is definitely dangerous, but I can't say how dangerous it is. Then you are just fooling me. Okay, look at the knife. Chu Ran slashed with a knife. The Terror Lord quickly raised his hands, clamped the blade with his 2 palms, and said with a sad face, My lord. The Queen is very powerful, I really can't say. Are you trying to grab a white blade with your bare hands? Chu Ran's face sank. Let go. Don't look at the Terror Lord's cowardly look. He is an SS after all, and his attributes in all aspects are very good. If he doesn't give him a weakening effect of the Abyss Kingship, the two of them will compare their strength attributes, and Chu Ran really can't beat him. Sir, why are you looking for the secret realm left by the Queen? To be honest, at your current level, entering the Queen's secret realm is pure death. Why don't you listen to my advice and wait until you reach level 120 and complete the 4th transformation before talking about it? No matter what, it is a large secret realm with more than 10,000 people, which is not comparable to a small place like mine. The Terror Lord thought that he was risking his life to make a direct remonstrance. He could see that Chu Ran was at most level 60. Even if he had a terrifying aura, an Abyss King like the Scarlet Queen might not be fooled by it. Only a high-level Abyss creature like himself who was neither high nor low would bow his head and surrender. More importantly, as a former member of the Queen's Guard, he felt uncomfortable for him to betray the Queen's secret realm. At least he should get some benefits, right? Chu Ran looked at the Terror Lord and loosened his strength. The Terror Lord did not dare to continue to maintain the posture of grabbing the white blade with his bare hands, and let go with a smirk. The two stared at each other. After a few seconds, Chu Ran said, "To tell you the truth, I want the information of the secret realm today. If you don't give it to me, I will chop you to pieces." The Terror Lord was embarrassed and helpless and said, "My lord, even if you want to kill me, you should have to put in some effort, right?" Chu Ran said happily, "You are really tough." After that, Chu Ran snapped his fingers. But this action was useless, it was just a show-off. What really worked was the deep purple light flashing in his right eye. The Terror Lord was illuminated by the purple light and his eyes widened immediately. But this process was slowed down countless times, from the pupil shrinking to the eye muscles pulling the eyelids to widen. Such a simple action took at least 3 seconds to complete. This kind, force, quantity, I've seen it. The Terror Lord's speech speed went from slow to fast, and after suddenly recovering, he rushed forward with disbelief written all over his face. Abyssal distortion, right. The right eye of the Abyss King distorts the flow of time and space. Stop everything you see. This is the new skill Chu Ran learned at level 60. It should be a matching skill with the Abyss annihilation of the left eye. The left eye outputs, the right eye controls. This is a complete combination. Chu Ran just used this skill on the Terror Lord with the idea of giving it a try. It turns out that in the absence of a weakening state, a full state level 99 boss will also be controlled, and it can be controlled for about 8 seconds. Even if there is no weakening of the Abyss Kingship, these 8 seconds are enough for me to chop him dozens of times. Invincible, it can only be said to be invincible. Chu Ran sighed in his heart and patted the face of the Terror Lord. Do you think I can kill you? Brother, you are so powerful. No, sir, isn't this the power of the Emperor? The Terror Lord was shocked and said, I have seen the Queen use this power before, and she has the ability to control the flow of time. The top emperors in the Abyss seem to have this kind of power against the sky. I was wondering why I felt so close to you when I saw you. It turns out that you are an emperor. We are like a family fighting against each other after the flood washed away the Dragon King Temple. The attitude of the Terror Lord was more friendly than before. He completely turned into a lackey. Chu Ran frowned. Can the authority of the Emperor do this? The Terror Lord nodded. The Emperor is a general term for the Ascenders in the Abyss. Only after completing the Ascension and evolving into a true top life can one be given the title of Emperor. The titles in the Abyss are not randomly ranked. For advanced intelligent creatures like the Abyss Succubus, which have no combat power, at most they are elite titles, which many brainless monsters can get. Above them are the upper elites, Abyss Warriors, Abyss Generals, Abyss Lords, Abyss Nobles, as well as Emperors and Demons. At the level of Emperor, there is a slight possibility of one being born among billions of Abyss creatures. The Scarlet Queen is the only Emperor who has ascended to her race for many years. The Terror Lord introduced the classes of the Abyss in detail. Rubbing his hands, he said, if you had said you were an Emperor earlier, I wouldn't have been able to fool you. So my skills, in the Abyss, are the authority of an Emperor, with exclusive special effects. Chu Ran always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. Although the Abyss Emperor sounded very impressive, Chu Ran felt that his career shouldn't stop there. No matter how powerful the Abyss Emperor is, weren't those who invaded the present world also beaten back to their homeland? Although the human race also paid a huge price for this, it is enough to prove that the Abyss Emperor is far from invincible. It can't be compared with his own profession. The Terror Lord said, there are also legendary professionals in the human race who can master similar powers. However, I can tell at a glance whether it is the aura of an emperor. Don't look at me like this. I am also an Abyss Lord after all. Although my territory is just a sesame-sized place, my knowledge is definitely not inferior to that of the great nobles of the Abyss. Chu Ran raised his hand to interrupt his boasting. Okay, hand over the clues to your queen's secret realm quickly. I still need 2 clues. Oh, you mean the 3 hidden clues? No need. I have a back door. The Terror Lord fumbled in his arms for a while and took out a blood-red emblem. This is the identity certificate of the 9th Legion of the Abyss. Use it to open the Queen's secret realm. Chu Ran looked at the emblem and then at the Terror Lord. Looked at the emblem and then at the Lord. Until the Terror Lord was embarrassed, he asked cautiously, Sir, what do you want to say? You took out this kind of thing now. Stop talking nonsense, look at the knife. Chu Ran started to chase the Terror Lord with the boning knife. Spare my life. Spare my life. About half an hour later, the terrifying lord with a bruised nose and face followed Chu Ran to the final exit of the secret realm, and said slurredly, Sir, are you leaving now? What a pity. Chu Ran said lightly, since you are so sorry, why not go out and hang out with me? No way. The Terror Lord waved his hands repeatedly, I can't leave the secret realm. This is the rule of the 2 worlds. I will die if I leave the gate. I can't serve you. I'm so sorry. Having said that, what the Horror Lord really thinks is that if he follows a boss like Chu Ran, will he starve 9 times a day? Chu Ran beat him violently just now without saying anything. Then they took him and started searching the castle. Everything of any value was wiped out by Chu Ran. I wanted to pry off all the floor tiles and take them away. Even the 4-piece suit in the Terror Lord's own room was stripped clean. If the demolition of the house hadn't been too slow, Chu Ran would have even planned to blow up the entire castle and take it away. Now this castle is truly worthless. Not to mention that he really couldn't leave the secret realm. Even if he could leave, he would never want to hang out with such a boss. So the Terror Lord refused simply. It's just that he definitely didn't dare to show it, and he still pretended to be reluctant to leave. There was even a glimmer of water in his swollen eyes. Chu Ran couldn't help but be moved by it, and sighed, You are quite funny, and you do a good job, but you are too scheming. Don't worry, since I am so reluctant to let go, I have 2 little brothers, and they will also be in the future. If you want to come here for a while, I will take them to see you every now and then. Ah, this isn't good. The house is simple and shabby, so there won't be any guests. The Terror Lord was stunned. Huh, Chu Ran raised his voice and glanced at him. What do you mean? You don't welcome me. That's not true. The Terror Lord tried his best to smile. When your little brother comes, I will personally beat up the cook and send him over. Okay, keep going. If there is a chance in the future, I will take you out to see the world. Chu Ran patted his shoulder and said, Let's go. Walk slowly. The Terror Lord nodded and bowed, finally sending this plague god away. However, when Chu Ran walked to the exit of the secret realm, he stopped and turned around and said, By the way, you said that your body is still in the abyss. I was just making an analogy. Do you think there is a possibility that he can survive now? Not bad, much richer than you. Yes, it is possible. This is the map. If you have the opportunity to go to the 17th level of the abyss, don't be polite to me. The Terror Lord took out a parchment map and handed it to Chu Ran, as if he had already prepared it. You're a very sensible boy. From now on, I'll level the abyss and make you a noble. Chu Ran smiled, put the map away, and walked directly into the secret realm exit without bothering the Terror Lord. The Terror Lord confirmed again and again, for fear that he would retaliate, and finally confirmed that this man was really gone. He couldn't help sniffling. Praise the abyss, let him harm others, and never come to me again. You can just find my true body. If he hadn't died in the battle and had enjoyed happiness outside for so many years, he would have paid off his debt. The Terror Lord wiped away his tears and walked silently to the room alone, his back looking very lonely. However, in the messy hall of the Terror Lord, there were two people standing there staring at each other. A tall, straight, black female warrior wearing leather armor and carrying a serrated chain sword frowned and said, "The butler is gone too. What's going on? Could it be Xiao Yu's team that did it? It's so fast today." The white-haired dwarf wearing a wide-brimmed pointed mage hat next to him sighed and said, "These guys from the T-Online Society eat their own meat and don't even share the soup with us. I'm still waiting to answer the questions and enter the collection room." "Are you still going into the collection room? What's in the collection room?" In addition to a pile of broken stones, there are also a few pornographic books. "I was fooled once, bad luck." The long black straight female warrior shook her head. The white-haired dwarf snorted coldly, his light red eyes flashing with wisdom, and said disdainfully, "What is a pornographic book?" "It's called the Abyss Succubus Illustrated Book, and it's out of print. There are 28 books in total, corresponding to all the Abyss Succubus Illustrated books. I've already got 20 copies of Types of Demons, and I'll make a fortune if I get the remaining 8. "Really? Those rhubarbs are valuable." He Chengji showed an interested expression. "The entire set is out of print. Do you understand the value of these 4 words?" The white-haired dwarf said with disgust on his face. "Let me tell you this, someone has already made a reservation from me. Do you know how much the deposit is?" "How many?" He Chong asked directly. The white-haired dwarf grinned, showing his little fangs. "This is the number." She made an 8 sign. 80,000. He Chengji immediately lost interest. This little money was not enough for her to make a lot of money by clearing the small secret realm. The white-haired dwarf shook his head, raised his short hand and raised it to the sky. Guess bigger, the pattern will be bigger." "It's not 80,000, is it 800,000? A set of pornographic books, the deposit is only 800,000. Isn't this too exaggerated? Did you find someone who took advantage of you?" He Chengji said with disgust on his face. "Other than those wimps from big families, who would spend so much money to buy a bunch of useless pornographic books? Tisk, let me tell you, it's 8 million. The white-haired dwarf said proudly. "The deposit alone gave me 8 million. If the whole set is collected, the other party is willing to buy it at a high price of 100 million blue star coins. This is a complete atlas of the Abyss race. The value is so high that you, a brainless big bear girl, can't understand it." "Who are you calling brainless?" Black Long straight rolled his eyes, flicked his long hair with his hand, and said lightly, "Anyway, I don't understand what the mentality of people who collect such atlases is. More than 200 years ago, I heard that they were called perverted dead Oedicus, right? Tisk, you are not a good thing either. Dwarf, don't you secretly collect the books of the big bear succubus, and secretly envy them?" She snorted in disdain. The white-haired dwarf almost exploded with anger, snorted coldly, "I have nothing to talk to you, I'm leaving." She turned around and left. "Bye Mengmong, let's team up next time. The mage in my team has something to do. Do you want to take over for a few days?" The black-haired man shouted at the white-haired dwarf's back. "I'm busy. I'm afraid you'll infect me with your mental retardation." The white-haired dwarf directly started the reverse teleportation and made a face at the black-haired man. The teleportation light completely enveloped her and then disappeared. The black-haired man shook his head and muttered a few words of childish talk. Although the two are the same age, she is indeed a little older in terms of her figure. She took a last look at the messy hall and frowned. Why does it feel like this place has been robbed? The people of T-Online Hui are really uncultured. After saying that, she directly started the reverse teleportation and left the secret realm. Chu Ran had just left the secret realm. Then I received a communication from Feng Yi. After all, he had just taken advantage of this little brother, so Chu Ran chose to get through and asked, "Little mage, what's the matter?" "Boss, I have been paying attention to your communication status. If I find that you can get through, I will know that you have finished clearing the secret realm." As expected of a boss, he is very efficient. Feng Yiqian flattered him. Chu Ran shook his head and laughed. "You kid, you are not very old and you are very good at talking. Is the Fang family teaching you this? Okay, the road is widened. This is all self-realization. I still have some talent. Boss, are you free? Let's come out and meet each other. Make an appointment with the soldiers." I'll treat you. Let's have a meal and talk slowly. Fang Yi quickly got to the point. He mainly wanted to ask Chu Ran out to meet and talk about the boss in the wild. The refresh of the wild boss this time has a large impact. At least including Shanghai City, Baicheng, and Winterfell will be affected to a certain extent. Fang Yi does not intend to ask Chu Ran to turn the tide, because he does not know what this big boss is doing now. What level is it? However, he thought that if he could get a share of the pie, it would be best to find help from senior professionals outside the Fang family. Those people from the Grand Guild are inextricably connected with all the major families. Even if he, the young master of the Fang family, came to visit them, he would not have much face. Let's find him. He's not the only new professional in the Fang family. Everyone wants to share the benefits. Why should he, Fang Yi, want more? Do you still have to queue up? So after much thought, Fang Yi could only talk to Chu Ran to see if this wild boss was good enough. Even if you can't help, it's still a good thing to form a good relationship now. What do you think, boss? Isn't it convenient? Seeing that Chu Ran didn't answer immediately, Fang Yi asked again cautiously. Chu Ran thought for a few seconds and simply said, "Okay, you can send the address to Wenxuan and I later, and I'll contact him again and let's go together." After all, after taking advantage of Fang Yi, he still had to give him the face he deserved, otherwise it would just be a waste of money. Chu Ran has never been able to do that kind of thing. "Okay, I'll make arrangements right away." Fang Yi was overjoyed and immediately cut off communication to make arrangements. Chu Ran also contacted Qi Wenxuan. Qi Wenxuan told him the situation briefly, but Qi Wenxuan didn't want to talk nonsense, because Fang Yi originally wanted to contact Chu Ran through him, and he also knew about it. What's more, Qi Wenxuan's impression of Fang Yi was pretty good. Although he was a rich kid from a big family, he was quite honest. The two of them had also practiced together in private. Knowing that Chu Ran was willing to keep the appointment, he immediately said, "Ranzi, let's go to the place, let's meet again." "Come out first and give you something." Chu Ran said. "Ah, give me something back. You have given me a lot of things. Of course, we are buddies, but you are not my father, and I can't always take your things." Qi Wenxuan heard this. Ran wanted to give him something, but he immediately refused. During this period of time, he took a lot of equipment and several sets of potions from Chu Ran, which added up to a lot of money. No matter how good the relationship was, Qi Wenxuan felt a little embarrassed. "I'm not your father. Who is your father?" Chu Ran said speechlessly. "This time I'm not giving you equipment. I'm going to give you some potions for later use. Also, after meeting Fang Yi today, I will take you two to the leveling area to directly improve your levels." Of course, this is not good. Qi Wenxuan was really embarrassed. Chu Ran shook his head and said, "That's what you are not good at. You are too thin-skinned. They are all your own buddies. Why are you so polite? You'd better learn from Fang Yi. You know how to flatter him after just one meeting. If you continue to work like this, I will treat Fang Yi as my son and not be a rebellious son like you. Get lost. Isn't this just trying to save you some money?" After Qi Wenxuan cursed, he said directly, "Then if you say that, I won't be polite. Can you give me the entire skill book? You really dare to open your mouth?" Chu Ran was shocked. Either this kid didn't open his mouth, but asked for the skill book when he opened his mouth. Do you know how much the skill book costs? The starting point is 7 figures, and if you have that kind of useful skill, you can easily reach the level of tens of millions. As for powerful skills, top-level skills, and even forbidden skill books, those are astronomical numbers. Chu Ran's current net worth, if he took out all of it, he would probably be able to exchange it for a powerful skill. Qi Wenxuan was obviously joking, and said with a smile, "A skill book will scare you to the point of peeing. Just pretend to be trivial. Okay, let's talk about it when we meet later." After cutting off the communication, Chu Ran sighed. His son was older and knew how to ask for things. I thought I could fool him by buying a pair of AJs, but who knew that this kid wanted a 4090 graphics card with just one mouthful. However, speaking of wealth, I haven't counted the good things I got in Tianmen City yet. The Death Mage's staff alone is worth a lot of money. At this moment, Chu Ran suddenly remembered that he still had a bunch of good goods in his bag that he had not sold. Just throwing that legendary staff into the market would knock the brains out of people like Haicheng. However, Chu Ran had no intention of selling the staff in Haicheng. That kind of top-notch legendary staff is the main weapon of the 7th turn mage. It is very suitable for the big boss to buy it for himself, or for those big families and big guilds to buy it back and use it as a stepping stone to bribe the big boss. So this thing must be sold at least in cities that have opened national trading houses. Otherwise, the stinky fish and shrimps like Haicheng may not be able to get a good price. Thinking about it this way, I can't get rid of these things in my bag for the time being. Chu Ran calculated and finally shook his head speechlessly. Just at this time, Fang Yi sent over the address. Chu Ran temporarily put aside the idea of making money and went directly to the appointment. The place where Fang Yi made an appointment was a relatively famous abyss restaurant in Haicheng. Blue Star has experienced 200 years of great changes, and even the ingredients served on the table have changed several times. The characteristic of the people of the Dragon Kingdom is that as long as they are sure they can eat it and can survive, they will serve them all at the table. After Chu Ran and Qi Wenxuan met at the door, a waiter immediately came up to them, asked their names, took their seats politely, and led them into the restaurant. "Boss, warriors, you are finally here." Fang Yi waved at the door of the box and said, "I arranged a table of good wine and good food, all of which are rare things, and even the trunk of the abyss demon elephant. I heard that it was obtained from Tianmen City, so this one sells for hundreds of thousands." "How many?" Chu Ran raised his voice. Fang Yi was shocked. 10, hundreds of thousands. Fang Yi blinked. Chu Ran's face turned green. Abyss demon elephant, Tianmen City. This keyword immediately reminded him that he seemed to have indeed killed an abyss demon elephant. "Is this thing so valuable? I lost 100 million. When eating, Chu Ran's expression was very ugly, and he didn't even touch the hard dish in the middle. After all, when Chu Ran thought that he had killed this thing and it was served on the table, and a dish was sold for hundreds of thousands, his heart was bleeding. If he had known it was so valuable, he should have taken it away. I was careless. I was still careless. I had lived a poor life before, and I had never been to such a high-end consumption place. I didn't know that the rare abyss monster could have such value." Seeing that Chu Ran had no appetite, Fang Yi asked carefully, "Boss, are you from the Abyss Creature Protection Association?" Chu Ran glanced at him and said unhappily, "What is the Go Ba Protection Association? There is such a brainless organization." Fang Yi immediately breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Oh, it is the Eagle Country that started it. I heard that it existed 200 years ago, but then the Blue Star changed dramatically, the ecological environment improved, and the planet expanded more than 10 times. Those creatures lived well before, so these people began to protect the abyss creatures. They said that as long as we don't hunt the abyss creatures, we can stop the struggle. Humans should set an example and make concessions, so that the war will end in our time. This generation." Quote. Fang Yi curled his lips and said, "The slogans have been shouted for hundreds of years, but I haven't seen any generation rely on them to shout slogans to end the war. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for the will of Blue Star that allowed us to hunt abyss monsters to upgrade our levels, we wouldn't even have the means to fight back now, and we would have been exterminated long ago." Quote. "I see, they are really a bunch of idiots." Chu Ran nodded, and then said, "Do you think I am idiot?" Qi Wenxuan next to him said happily, "Ran Zi, I think you are also idiots. You don't eat such expensive dishes. This is a rare opportunity, so pick up some food. I don't have much appetite." Chu Ran glanced at the trunk of the abyss demon elephant and felt a pain in his liver. Fang Yi also said, "If you don't have an appetite, I'll ask the kitchen to change the table." "Don't bother." Chu Ran shook his head, "Just tell me, are you here to talk about the wild boss? I'm short of time and I have to do the job transfer task. I'll help if I can, but don't blame me if I can't. Anyway, there are 3 cities dealing with the wild boss this time, and I'm not missing one person." Fang Yi said, "That's really no problem. The wild boss is at most a little tricky and may damage some urban infrastructure, but after so many years, we already have experience in dealing with it, and nothing will go wrong. It's just that if we low-level professionals want to get a piece of the pie, we still need a big boss to lead the team." Chu Ran understood what he meant. He just wanted to cling to the thighs and get some benefits when killing the wild boss. Then why don't you find a professional from the Fang family? Chu Ran looked at Fang Yi. The Fang family is a big family in Haicheng after all. Can't they spare a professional who is willing to take you? That's not the case. Fang Yi sighed, scratched his dyed white hair, and said, the main thing is that if this matter is told to others, my family will not agree. One is that it is too dangerous. If you want to fight a wild boss, you must be at least level 30 or above. Otherwise, no one knows whether the wild boss that appears this time has a large-scale damage skill. If you are accidentally scratched or rubbed, your life will be gone directly. And there are more than one new professional in my family. Those who are willing to be taken by the family to upgrade are eligible to get a bite. Fang Yi said embarrassedly. I was too arrogant before, saying that I don't need help from my family and I can upgrade by myself. Now I can't get off the stage, right? I see. You're pretending to be cool, but you got slapped in the face. Chu Ran said, what level are you now? Level 15. If I work hard today, I should be able to reach level 18. Fang Yi answered honestly, and then said, if it doesn't work, I can ask those people in the big guild to help me level up. They have similar services and they can be done for money. There is still some time before the wild boss refreshes. It's okay to get to level 30 before then. Level 15. Chu Ran nodded, then looked at Qi Wenxuan who was eating, and asked, Wenxuan, you trained to level 10 with him before, right? Qi Wenxuan swallowed the meat in his mouth. I also went to the monster spawning area to move bricks last night, and now I'm level 12. That's okay, you two are about the same level, no problem. Chu Ran thought about it, found Mu Qingwan from his communication, and sent her a message. Little thief, do you have any good monster spawning spots to recommend? It would be best if you can spawn a dragon from level 12 to level 30. After sending this message, Chu Ran said to the two of them, wait a minute. Fang Yi's eyes moved slightly, and he probably understood something. He said excitedly, thank you, big brother. He immediately changed his words and called him big brother. Qi Wenxuan didn't understand yet, and said stupidly, what are you waiting for? No, Ranzi, pick up the food. Ah, this. Chu Ran was embarrassed. Warrior, no, Wenxuan, if you like to eat, just eat it. I can still afford this little money. In the future, our brothers will have delicious meals and spicy drinks every day, and you will definitely not be short of this bite. Fang Yi patted his chest and made a promise to Qi Wenxuan. Qi Wenxuan nodded silently and gave a thumbs up, you are still very considerate. Wenxuan, listen to my advice. Try to avoid using your brain in the future. With your brain, I am really afraid that you will be sold into the abyss one day. Chu Ran sighed. Ding dong. Just after he finished speaking, Chu Ran heard a prompt. Mu Qingwan sent a message. Boss, do you want to take a newbie to level up? Then I know a good place. I happen to be nearby. I'll take you there. I'll send you the coordinates. She sent a coordinate with a squinting smiley expression. Seeing the coordinates, Chu Ran stood up directly. Let's go. Fang Yi immediately stood up obediently. Where are you going? I haven't finished eating yet. Qi Wenxuan was confused. Chu Ran waved. Then who? Xiao Fang, go get him 2 plastic bags to pack. Then he slapped Qi Wenxuan speechlessly. You are just this much, take you to level up, so you really come here to make a fool of yourself. Qi Wenxuan's face was full of reluctance. He really wasn't playing dumb this time. It was the first time he ate such good food, and he was so happy that his big snot bubbles came out. When Chu Ran turned around, he found that Fang Yi actually took out 2 bags and packed them. He was even more shocked. What? Brother, aren't you packing for Brother Zan? Fang Yi quickly put the food into his pockets and said, I think it's a waste if we can't finish all the food. Wait for me, it will be ready soon. Great. Chu Ran raised his thumb. With 2 talented and brave generals helping me, I don't have to worry about not accomplishing my great cause. It should be right here. Chu Ran led Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi to the coordinates given by Mu Qingwan. Fang Yi looked around and whispered, Brother, are you sure? That person won't lie to you, right? There are several cemeteries around here, and further ahead is a barren mountain. There are indeed several monster spawning spots. Haicheng's famous ghost tower is nearby, and it is a leveling area with a threshold of at least level 20. Qi Wenxuan scratched his head and said, Of course, how about we go to the Death Desert? The outer areas of the desert are also very rich in experience. Chu Ran sighed. Forget it, I don't want to go to the Death Desert in a short time. I always feel a bit unlucky. He had just done something big in the Desert of Death, demolishing the Lin family's leek field. If he went there again this time, he would probably destroy the Huo family and the Secret Law Society's land, allowing their families to reunite. Wouldn't that offend all the big forces in Haicheng? It's better to keep a line in your behavior so that we can meet each other easily in the future, and don't be too arrogant. Fang Yi wrinkled his face and thought for a few seconds, then raised his head and said, Brother, why don't you go to the low-level secret realm? I still have some secret realm certificates here, and all the secret realms in Haicheng are complete. Let's form a team and go to the secret realm to clear monsters. It's pretty fast. He took out a pocket of secret realm certificates. Although they were not of high level, they were all bought with real money. Just these secret realm certificates are worth at least several million. Chu Ran glanced at this boy and asked, Are you here to show off your wealth? He ignored Fang Yi and was about to send a message to Mu Qingwan to say he had arrived when he heard a high-pitched voice. Boss. This voice frightened Fang Yi so much that his eyes widened, thinking that it was haunted. Chu Ran raised his eyes and saw Mu Qingwan standing dozens of meters away, waving on the wall of the cemetery, and then jumped out with light steps. This time she didn't wear the cool leather armor, but instead wore a traditional thief's black slim-fitting suit. There was a long scarf hanging around her neck, with the ends falling to her sides. It curled up and down with her movements, and it really looked like that. Seeing her come out of the cemetery, Chu Ran looked her up and down. You don't go hunting for treasures now, but fight instead. What's the matter, are you robbing the tomb? I heard that someone dug a tunnel here, and my professional sense was immediately awakened. I went over to see what was going on. Mu Qingwan wiped the dust on the tip of her nose and looked straight at Chu Ran's face. Chu Ran then remembered that he was wearing a fish monster mask the whole time last time, but this time he was too lazy to cover his face. He couldn't help but said happily, How did you recognize me? Mu Qingwan said with a smile, The mage next to me is too short and the warrior is too strong. I knew it was you as soon as I saw it. Fang Yi's eyes widened and he was unhappy. You seem to be shorter than me, right? Qi Wenxuan grinned and casually raised his hand to hold Fang Yi's shoulder. They are right, Fang Yi, your head is indeed not high, but it doesn't matter. You are still 25 years old. You are only 18 years old. There are plenty of opportunities. Fang Yi. Chu Ran shook his head and said, I thought you would say that you can tell at a glance that I have the temperament of a boss. You are still too young and don't understand the art of speaking. Mu Qingwan winked and said, We have a lifelong friendship, so let's not talk about the false things. Boss, are these two the newbies we want to bring this time? She didn't waste any time and directly sent a team application to Chu Ran. Chu Ran clicked to accept and let her join the group. First of all, I have discovered a new path to spawn monsters. Go in from the cemetery and spawn those little ghosts all the way to level 20. Then take a shortcut to the Barren Mountain Demon Cave. You can go directly to the spawn point of the elite monsters. Mu Qingwan said, In this way, you can reach around level 26. With level 4 left, you can transfer to the Devil's Sea and gain experience in the periphery. As long as the efficiency is fast enough, about 3 days will be enough. 3 days, Chu Ranyi frowned. It's too slow. Is there anything more efficient? It's best to do it in a place with more monsters. Mu Qingwan glanced at Chu Ran, as if she was still a little unaccustomed to the true appearance of this big boss. She cleared her throat and said, Boss, you also know that those very efficient monster spawning points are all used by big families and big guilds. It's contracted. If we go there, we'll at least have to pay a toll. Upon hearing this, Chu Ran turned to look at Fang Yi. Fang Yi was startled. Brother, what do you want to see me do? Chu Ran said, Aren't you a member of the Fang family? What monster spawning spots does the Fang family occupy? Why don't you go to your family's territory to fight in the autumn wind? There is a big family professional around you, so you should take advantage of it. A member of the Fang family. Mu Qingwan looked at Fang Yi and then said, The Fang family is not good. They don't occupy any monster spawning spots in Haicheng. They mainly make money from the secret realm and don't bother to play such small tricks. Fang Yi smiled reservedly and nodded. Brother, she is right. Our Fang family does not do such deceptive things. Our income is tens of millions a year at most, and the Fang family still looks down upon her. Seeing how proud he was, Mu Qingwan slapped her face with her next words. The Fang family is the king and hegemon in the secret realm, and it also deceives people. Although it is a little better than other families, it is only so good. Well, I don't know what our family is doing in the secret realm. It has nothing to do with me. Fang Yi quickly clarified the relationship. Chu Ran waved his hand and said, okay, I'm not asking you to settle the score. Anyway, your Fang family is pretty good and doesn't occupy much territory in Haicheng. Fang Yi nodded awkwardly. The Fang family is not weak, but they are too lazy to compete with others for the little profit, and they are cheating the hard-earned money of new professionals. They prefer to go to the secret realm to cheat professionals of level 50 to 60. They are richer. Then there is nothing to say. 3 days is too slow. Do you have any other plans? Think about it carefully. Chu Ran looked at Mu Qingwan. If it doesn't work, let's go back to our old business and pick the monster spawning points of those big families and wipe them out. Mu Qingwan was anxious on the spot. Big brother, don't make trouble. The core area of the Death Desert was blown up by you, and now the Lin family is still going crazy. If you blow up another family, you can't stay in Haicheng. Fang Yi was also shocked. Brother, did you do the Lin family's thing? Of course he knew what happened in the Death Desert. The Lin family's chive field was blown through from below, and a secret realm called the Desert Royal Tomb was blown out. Now the people in the provincial capital are in place, waiting for the secret realm to stabilize completely to see if it will become the entrance to the abyss. If not, it's no big deal. If it becomes the entrance to the abyss, the Lin family will be in big trouble. Chu Ran said indifferently, it's not a big deal. I just blew up the Lin family's chive field. Aren't there still the Huo family and the Secret Law Society? As long as you don't offend all 3 families at once, there's no big problem. Mu Qingwan sighed. Boss, you blew out a secret realm, and the Huo family and the Secret Law Society are now out of money. The core area of the Death Desert is completely sealed off. You have offended these 3 families this time. Chu Ran looked at Mu Qingwan, hesitated for a moment, and said to Qi Wenxuan, be honest during this period. Don't say you know me, and don't go to the Death Desert. Qi Wenxuan was still confused at the moment and didn't understand what they were talking about. But he still understood one key point. Anyway, it was my buddy who was so awesome that he gave the Lin family a big advantage. He raised his thumb, showing his white teeth and said, don't worry, the limelight is tight now, I understand. You'd better understand. Chu Ran shook his head, and then said to Mu Qingwan, the autumn wind of the big family has no need to fight, and your path is too slow. Is there any other way? Think again. Mu Qingwan bit her finger, her little face full of tangles, and finally said, it's not that there is no way. The key is that this method is too dangerous. Boss, what level are you at now? Isn't it convenient for me to reveal it? Chu Ran said, level 60. I didn't hide the level this time. Isn't it written in the team information? As soon as these words came out, the scene immediately became quiet. How much? How much? Mu Qingwan was dumbfounded. She quickly looked at the team information and saw Chu Ran's name and level. 60 indeed. What the hell kind of speed is this? How many days has it been since I last saw him? Mu Qingwan couldn't help but said, Brother Chu, tell me the truth, is it open or not? Or just admit it. It's hard for me to accept this. Fang Yi also swallowed. He didn't notice this just now, and whispered, Brother, you did upgrade a little too fast, didn't you? Qi Wenxuan didn't have much reaction, because when he was in Tianmen City, Chu Ran was at least level 30. He had been shocked once before. We are all used to it now. He just nodded and pretended to be serious. You kid, you have something. Don't worry, everything will be yours after I die. Chu Ran patted his shoulder, and then said, is level 60 enough? It's not even enough. There is no place to practice at the moment. At this level, for me it can't be lifted up in 1 or 2 strokes. Brother Chu, you can do it, but pretending is too much. Mu Qingwan said, do you know what the record is for our Haicheng to reach level 60? I know this question. Fang Yi raised his hand. It's Lin Lan. She reached level 60 in 4 months. The Lin family couldn't wait to invest all the family's resources in her. They used the whole family's efforts to create such a genius, and even sold it to Donghua University. It took her several years to become a third-level professional. Yes, this little dwarf from the Fang family still has some knowledge. Mu Qinghuan nodded, completely ignoring Fang Yi's murderous gaze, and continued, to reach level 60 in 4 months, this is the strength of the entire Lin family. The one he raised is already the fastest in Haicheng, and the further you go, the harder it becomes to upgrade. Mr. Chu, how long has it been since you completed your job transfer? Are you already 60? Well, if you let that woman know, I'm afraid she'll have to make a fight with you because of her bad temper. It's none of my business. Is there something wrong with her? Chu Ran said speechlessly. Besides, who asked you this? I'm asking you if level 60 is enough. Enough, that must be enough, hi. Mu Qinghuan nodded, and then said, since you are already level 60, Mr. Chu, we can change our plan and go directly to the Devil Sea. I know a place where you can kill many devil fish people and there are many elite monsters. If we spend a day there, the upgrade speed will be much faster. As for whether you can reach level 30, it all depends on your efficiency, boss. After Mu Qinghuan finished speaking, she turned to look at Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi. What do you think? Fang Yi said directly, I have no opinion, I listen to Big Brother. Qi Wenxuan also nodded and said, yes, Ting Ranzi. Chu Ran thought about it for a while and clapped his hands. Okay, let's make a quick decision and lead the way. Okay, Mu Qinghuan smiled and said, Brother Chu, can you take me through a job transfer mission? My job transfer mission has been cleared in the Devil's Sea. Chu Ran paused and looked at her. Are you waiting for me here together? Isn't this how about borrowing the big boss's advantage? I'll pay for it. Mu Qinghuan rubbed her hands and said, Boss, tell me the number, and I will never bargain. Okay, 5 million. Chu Ran said directly. That's a discount for you. Do you know how much it costs for me to make a move in the secret realm? This is to take you through the job transfer mission, so you can steal the 5 million. Have fun. 5 million. Mu Qinghuan frowned and said, then what if I think about it again? What about you getting out of here? Chu Ran laughed. Okay. Mu Qinghuan gritted her teeth and said, this is the price, Mr. Chu, you can't change your mind. I, Chu Ran, have always been true to my word and treated people with sincerity. If you go out and ask around, whoever has dealt with me will not be full of praise for me. Chu Ran sneered. There will definitely be no bad reviews, so don't worry. Mu Qinghuan followed Chu Ran, and suddenly felt a chill, and said weakly, I would like to ask, are all the people who want to give you bad reviews dead? What words? What are you talking about? Chu Ran's smile became colder and he said directly, say less, little thief, be careful, I will sue you for slander. Mu Qinghuan did not dare to say anything. Fang Yi also blinked and refreshed his view of Chu Ran. This new big brother I met is so awesome. Aren't the good days coming soon? Fang Yi was very happy and his pace was much faster. Mu Qinghuan did not take them to take a shortcut this time, but went directly to the Devil's Sea through the teleportation array. It is called the Devil's Sea. The initial landing point is actually an isolated island. It is about 500 to 600 kilometers away from Haicheng. On this isolated island, there are already many professionals scouting monsters. Mu Qinghuan seems to be very familiar with this. She completely ignored those professionals and explained to Chu Ran, this small island is the entrance to the Devil's Sea. After all, those who dare to come here are at least level 30, and their endurance attributes are neither high nor low. If they go directly into the sea, they can only hold it for a few hours at most, which is not very efficient. So there are high-level professionals who made a move, built an island here, and then led out a route to pull monsters, so that the monsters in the sea pile up on the island, providing convenience for those professionals with average endurance. After speaking, she pointed to the sea in the distance. Our goal is over there, and I will tell you how to swipe it later. Sea Area Peripheral Efficiency Team, here are 2 professions that can increase stamina buff, please don't disturb me if you are a newbie. Is anyone going to the deep sea shipwreck? I want a water mage, or a summoning mage. Cut, chop, kill. Don't block the road. No, bro, you have 2 arms, watch someone else. Is there any boss who can help me kill manta rays? I'll get paid. The island is also very lively. There are professionals around level 30 running all over the place, and there are also some newbies trying to fish in troubled waters, intending to use their cars to upgrade. Mu Qingwan led the way and said to Chu Ran, "Boss Chu, there is no need to worry about these people. The people who can get here are all veterans. Even those with low professional skills are not just newbies. Don't take it easy. If you look at someone, it will be bad if you get caught." Chu Ran had no intention of joining in the fun, but when he heard this, he couldn't help but feel happy. "Are you so embarrassed to talk about others? How did you pester me to accompany you to explore the desert of death? Have you forgotten? Didn't I spot your extraordinary qualities from the crowd at a glance?" Mu Qingwan said with a playful smile, "Don't underestimate the thief profession. Finding treasures is just a small path. If you can hug your thighs in one go, that is the bright road." Quote. Fang Yi, whose head was ringing with alarm bells, squinted at Mu Qingwan. "This little guy is making rapid progress. Are you afraid that you want to compete with yourself for the position of the number 1 toady under Brother Chu?" Not to be outdone, Fang Yi coughed and said, "Sister, you talk nice, but you do things to take advantage. Unlike me, I only think about my eldest brother. If you need anything, you can definitely come to me." Quote. For example, it doesn't matter if you pay for a secret realm certificate or get 1.8 million for emergency help. There are not many good things going on. First stick to your big brother. This is called enlightenment. Isn't that right, brother? Fang Yi smiled at Chu Ran. Chu Ran was embarrassed. Mu Qingwan also looked disgusted. Where did the green tea come from? The tea smells like tea. Come on. Tisk. Fang Yi turned his head and tutted. Mu Qingwan also sneered. The two guys, who were stacked less than 3 meters high, already began to dislike each other. Only Qi Wenshuan stood aside, and the years were quiet. I was even watching other people spawn monsters with great interest, and I couldn't feel the smell of gunpowder in the air. Okay, let's get down to business. Chu Ran waved his hand to cut off the invisible exchange of sight between the two, and said calmly, "Didn't you say there is a convenient place to spawn monsters? Where is it?" Still I won. Mu Qingwan raised her eyebrows at Fang Yi, and then said with a smile, "Boss Chu, if you want to bring them two to level up, it's best to farm the manta ray man. This is a level 28 monster. There are enough of them, so be careful with them. However, most of the manta rays are actually in the sea. Those on the island are just enough to maintain balance. Most of them are slowly gathering from the monster drawing paths opened by senior professionals." Quote. Not many people go to that path. After all, there are too many monsters and too few monsters. If you have the strength to kill so many manta rays at once, it will be more efficient to dive directly into the sea. If you don't have the strength, it will be a meal. So, let's go directly to the end of the path and use other monster gathering methods to attract a group of manta rays, so that the efficiency can be improved. Mu Qingwan asked with a smile. This can also ensure the safety of the two newbies. It is a better transition plan. What do you think, boss? Chu Ran thought about it for a while and nodded. Okay, this method is not bad, just follow what you say, but I don't have any relevant skills in gathering monsters. Do you have any ideas? He could see that Mu Qingwan, the little thief, was still a rich woman. She could easily take out 5 million blue star coins. Last time when she was in the desert royal tomb, she even stirred up a whole bottle of apparition dust in order to explore the way safely. That is a valuable consumable item. So if Mu Qingwan dared to propose this plan, she must have already had a corresponding method to deal with it. Yes, Mu Qingwan took out a strange-looking thing. It looks like a mixture of fiber, grass, and soil, and its shape is a bit indescribable. If Chu Ran were to describe it, it would be a bunch of excuses. When Fang Yi saw this thing, his face turned pale instantly. Holy crap. Where did you get so much magic-attracting ointment? Isn't the sale of this thing already banned? Take it, take it. Fang Yi had a gloomy expression on his face and waved towards Mu Qingwan. Magic ointment. Chu Ran was very interested and looked at the indescribable stuff. Is this the contraband that caused big trouble before? Mu Qingwan nodded, then shook her head and said, "It's true that it caused a big disaster, but it's not a contraband item. It's just that low-level professionals are not allowed to come into contact with this thing. In fact, professionals with rank 1 or above can apply. After all, when it comes to the effect of gathering monsters, apart from the heaven-defying taunting skills, the effect of the demon-inducing ointment is basically irreplaceable. She explained. I dug this up during a treasure hunt and kept it for a long time. Its origin is absolutely clean. Fang Yi frowned and said, Are you sure? Be careful of the public security department causing trouble. If you use so much demon-inducing ointment, if you catch some monster from the sea, it will be the end. Mu Qingwan originally wanted to say that she knew what was going on. But it suddenly occurred to her that there was a big boss beside her who was very unreasonable. Then this lump in her hand is really a time bomb. Ahem. She carefully picked off a piece and put away the rest. When Chu Ran saw this, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. He had originally wanted to do something with that large piece of magic cream. Seeing that Mu Qingwan had put it away, he couldn't force his hand, so he could only remember the name silently and see if he could get some later. Mu Qingwan weighed the magic cream in her hand and said, These are enough. Don't worry, I have studied the dosage. Don't underestimate a professional thief. Professional, haven't you just turned one? Fang Yi said with disgust. You can also be called a professional thief like this. I will be a top-level mage in the future. Get out, shorty. After rolling her eyes, Mu Qingwan held the small piece of magic cream in her palm. Boss Chu, let's go. Chu Ran responded and dragged Qi Wenxuan, who was still watching the fun, away. Qi Wenxuan was still a little reluctant to leave. After all, the monsters over there were very lively, and a group of old-timers were very good at operation and spoke nicely. He quite likes it here. About 20 minutes later, under the leadership of Mu Qingwan, they passed through a mountain forest trail and came to the outskirts of the isolated island. The number of monsters here has obviously increased, and they are basically in groups of 3 or 5, and occasionally there are more than 10 monsters. Chu Ran held a boning knife in his hand, and basically killed all the devil fishmen with one cut. Before they arrived at the place, Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi had a lot of experience. No wonder the new professionals at home have to find someone to guide them. It feels really good. Fang Yi is now level 18 and has been directly promoted to level 3. Qi Wenxuan jumped to level 16, rising by 4 levels. This was because Chu Ran didn't hold back and chopped the monster to death with one knife. Otherwise, the best way would be to cripple it and let the two of them harvest it. If they kill it, they will gain more experience. However, that would reduce efficiency, so Chu Ran simply saw them one by one every second. The appearance of these devil fish people is almost the same as that of the human race. Their body proportions are basically the same, and they tend to be thinner. However, they are very strong and have at least higher strength attributes than professionals of the same level. They also use a weapon that can spray black. Although the corrosive liquid spear did no harm to Chu Ran, Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi definitely couldn't withstand it, so Chu Ran raised the knife and quickly cleared the monsters, almost killing all the mantas. Aren't you there yet? If you keep cutting like this, I'll just turn around and cut all the way back from the starting point. Chu Ran split a manta in two, splashing a little bit of corrosive liquid on his body. Apart from a few small holes in his clothes, there was no damage at all. His current defensive attributes, coupled with the damage reduction of Shadow Guard, directly ignore the damage of these low-level monsters, and stand among the monsters to let them fight for a lifetime without breaking their defense. Mu Qingwan blinked, thinking that Mr. Chu had become more ferocious after not seeing him for a few days, and said quickly, Come on, just ahead, a road has been opened at the end of the island, just for those manta rays. Ashore. Let's go. Chu Ran raised his chin and kicked the body of the manta ray man away. Fang Yi was very excited when he saw it, and whispered, When will I be as powerful as my elder brother? Killing the monsters with one knife, my cock will be astonishing. Qi Wenxuan finally reacted, patted Fang Yi and mocked, Aren't you a mage? What are you doing, a melee mage? Fang Yi shook his head and said in a mysterious tone, Brother Zan, haven't you heard of an ancient rumor? I heard that there were magicians more than 200 years ago. A real magician should have a staff and a long sword. Fight the enemy hand to hand with the sword, and as for magic, a lighting spell is enough. This is what I saw in an ancient book. It can't be wrong. Fang Yi's face was full of confidence. Chu Ran in front almost staggered and looked back at Fang Yi with a shocked face. What ancient book? Didn't your kid read a collection of jokes from 200 years ago? With an illumination spell, carrying a long sword and a staff to fight with people, are you the unparalleled god of war Gandalf? Fang Yi, tell me the truth, what are the dozen attribute points you added? Chu Ran couldn't help but ask. Fang Yi said proudly, power, it must be power. What's the use of adding spirit? I will definitely be able to awaken an S-level mage profession after I change jobs. The higher the level coefficient of the job transfer, the better my mental attributes will be. The stronger it becomes, there is no lack of spiritual attributes at all. Pull up your strength, and then minor in endurance, so that you can get a higher job transfer bonus. When you reach level 200, the biggest difference between me and other mages is that I can fight in close combat. Fang Yi seemed to have thought carefully and was not playing tricks. He said seriously, brother, think about it. All mages pursue spiritual attributes and want to be humanoid forts. Just a taboo spell is overwhelming. This kind of tradition is too rubbish. What I want is surprise. When overtaking on other tracks, you think I am a mage. In fact, I can use it as a warrior when I pick up the staff. Are you surprised or surprised? What he said silenced everyone. Mu Qingwan took a deep look at Fang Yi and said, you are not very favored in the Fang family, are you? Fang Yi said with a strange face, no, what do you mean? Mu Qingwan sighed. Listen to me, eat whatever you want, live a good life, and don't wrong yourself. Chu Ran shook his head and said, you boy, you are really clever. Fang Yi was made less confident by their attitudes. Could it be that his idea was wrong? Isn't this kind of mage who takes a different path the right path? The result is here. Qi Wenxuan slapped his palm and said, I think what Xiaofang said makes sense. If it were me, I would definitely want to fight the mage in close combat. If he picks up the staff, he will start to fight with me. Oh, I can't react right now, so I'm going to suffer a loss. You have a good mind. Qi Wenxuan looked at Fang Yi with wide eyes, as if he had just met him. Fang Yi's face was full of surprise, and he stepped forward to hold Qi Wenxuan. Brother Zan, I knew you would definitely understand me. Qi Wenxuan hummed twice and said, there's nothing wrong with your idea, it's just too insidious. But that's what we professionals should do. The more advanced the abyssal creatures are, the more insidious they are. We can't be too honest. That's right. Fang Yi was very happy. After all, this was the first time someone agreed with his ideas. Boss Chu, are you two friends doing something wrong? Mu Qingwan came to Chu Ran with a very frightened expression. She felt that these two people didn't seem to have very good minds. Chu Ran said with a doting look on his face, as long as the child likes it, it's the father's job to give him the full scoop. Stop being nagging and hurry up and get rid of the monsters. Mu Qingwan did not dare to say a word, nodded, and continued to lead the way. We walked for about a few more minutes. They finally came to the end of the island and saw the road that led to the monsters. It was a small beach, with densely packed murlocs. However, because the beach was not large, at a glance, there were only about 200 murlocs, which was probably not enough to eat. But there were still many murlocs floating in the sea, occasionally showing their heads, and their scarlet eyes looked at the shore from time to time, making meaningless roars. Boss Chu, this is it. After we clear all the fishmen on the beach, we can start pulling monsters. Mu Qingwan pointed to the front and said, however, the area here is not large, and there are only a few hundred monsters at most. If you kill them yourself, your experience will be reduced. Whether you can reach level 30 depends on your efficiency in killing monsters. Chu Ran sneered and said, do you question my efficiency? Wait, I'll give you a hard time. Mu Qingwan was shocked and said quickly, Boss Chu, it's best not to use the big slap skill. The Lin family is looking for you all over the world now. If you are exposed here, it will probably be a bit troublesome. She had seen the skill of the abyss grip and quickly reminded Chu Ran. Chu Ran shook his head, why do we need such a big scene? He jumped off the top of the mountain directly, and his eyes glowed with deep purple light. Abyss Distortion. Abyss Annihilation. Chapter 71. Hiss. Seeing someone jumping off the cliff, hundreds of manta rays immediately became agitated, roared hoarsely and rushed over. As a result, before taking a few steps, the screen looked like someone had pressed the pause button. The dozens of murlocs rushing at the front moved sluggishly, almost completely stagnant, and some still maintained a pounce posture, staying in midair like a sculpture. Abyss distortion. This strong control skill can put the Terror Lord into a sluggish state for 8 seconds without weakening the royal power. Although the Terror Lord behaves like a coward and doesn't fight back when hit or scolded, he is a SS after all. Even he can't escape the control skills. When used to deal with these devilfish people, it is simply a dimensionality-reducing blow. The next second, as Chu Ran glanced at them, the mantis in his sight exploded into black dust, and he killed dozens of mantis in the front row with one glance. The whole process only takes about 2 to 3 seconds, including the little time he lost by jumping off the cliff. Hiss. A large area was suddenly vacated in the front row, and more than 100 manta ray people behind were stunned on the spot. They are not completely brainless monsters. They can have a human character in their name. In addition to their appearance being close to humans, the most important thing is that they know how to use their brains and have simple combat wisdom. The fishmen in the rear immediately understood that the enemy in front of them was invincible. Get away. Want to run. Chu Ran's right eye flashed, and he controlled a large area again. He walked towards the fishmen unhurriedly. With every step he took, more than a dozen fishmen exploded into black dust. Kill 10 fish in 1 step. Must fill up the pie. Brother Chu, use this. At this moment, Mu Qingwan also jumped down and threw the magic-inducing ointment to Chu Ran. Chu Ran raised his hand to catch it, nodded, and continued to chase the manta ray people. She looked at Chu Ran frantically slaying monsters, and said with envy on her face, "If I hadn't been stuck in changing jobs, I would have gained a lot of experience." The level gap between these mantas and hers is not too big. She is now level 30, and the experience reduction penalty is at most 20% to 30%. Counting the attenuation of non-self-killed kills, if she follows Chu Ran to gain experience, at least can be upgraded to 2 levels. What a pity. Mu Qingwan couldn't help but feel regretful. At this moment, she turned her head and found Qi Wenxuan carrying Fang Yi and climbing down the cliff. Fang Yi danced and shouted something. The two of them flashed the light of upgrade from time to time, and they no longer knew how many levels they had been upgraded to. Brother Zan, slow down. I'm afraid of heights. Fang Yi's voice drifted over, and Mu Qingwan burst into laughter, and said loudly, "Jump. This professional who can't fall to level 10 or above will die." Qi Wenxuan, who was halfway up the climb, couldn't help but nodded when he heard this. "I told you earlier, I was afraid that I would drop Xiao Fang to death." He threw Fang Yi down casually. Then he jumped off the cliff halfway. "Ah!" Fang Yi screamed halfway before he fell down on his butt. Qi Wenxuan pulled him up after landing and patted the dust on the mage's robe. "Xiao Fang, it doesn't hurt." Fang Yi said with a dull look on his face. "It's okay, I really thank you, Brother Zan." "Hey, why don't you be polite to me? I'm just a buddy." Qi Wenxuan grinned, patted Fang Yi on the shoulder, then looked towards Chu Ran and shouted, "Ranzi, what kind of skills do you have? It's too powerful." Fang Yi came back to his senses, looked at Chu Ran, and subconsciously analyzed, is this a skill released through sight? It combines control and attack abilities. It's so powerful. Chu Ran maintained his composure, did not look back, and responded calmly, "The power of these eyes comes from pain, you won't understand. Leveling up can be considered a pain, right? Then there's nothing wrong with me waking up to this pair of powerful contact lenses, right?" Chu Ran thought silently in his heart. Pain. Mu Qingwan was startled, recalling that Chu Ran had killed the professionals who were robbing the newbies with one move before, and secretly wondered if this big boss had a tendency to retaliate against society, right? She suddenly became nervous, and a sense of mission arose spontaneously. She cleared her throat and said, "Brother Chu, although I am a thief, I also know something about psychological counseling. If you need help with anything, I can help you. Tell me." "Don't tell me, I really need your help with something." Chu Ran looked back at her. Mu Qingwan immediately said, "Big brother, just tell me." Chu Ran spread his hands, and the magic-inducing ointment was lying in his hand. "How do you use this thing?" "I find a monster for it to eat," he said with disgust on his face. "I can't eat it myself, right? This thing looks like this, it's hard to eat it." Mu Qingwan, "Ah, boss, you do this first, then this. Yes, that's it." She walked over and did some work, and asked Chu Ran to apply the magic attracting ointment evenly on her body. This will attract monsters within a few kilometers, which can just cover the small sea area next to it. Qi Wenxuan held his chin, pondered for a few seconds, and said, "Do you think the composition of this thing is the excrement of some kind of abyssal creature?" Several shocked looks looked at him. Especially Chu Ran, who suddenly felt a little sick after having this demon-inducing ointment applied to his clothes. Seeing that they were all staring at him, Qi Wenxuan couldn't help but say, "I also read it from a book. I heard that creatures in the past would bury their feces and urine to avoid the smell attracting natural enemies. If you think about it the other way around, wouldn't it be possible to pull monsters with these things?" "That makes sense." Mu Qingwan's pupils shook. "Why haven't I thought about this?" Chu Ran glanced at her. "Little thief, if this is true, you don't have to think about it anymore. Your life will almost stop today." Fang Yi raised his hand. "Brother, the ingredients of the magic ointment are some kind of resin unique to the abyss, mixed with dust from fragments of the abyss breath, and made of several kinds of plant materials." He continued to explain. "This thing is explained in the textbooks for the second year of high school. Brother, haven't you seen it?" "Really?" Chu Ran turned his head. "I forgot." Qi Wenxuan smiled and said, "I forgot too." Fang Yi looked at Mu Qingwan. He couldn't afford to provoke the two brothers, so why could he provoke this short thief? Mu Qingwan smiled and said, "Sister is just testing you. Do you really think that sister doesn't know this little knowledge?" The next second, she turned her head and whistled. Fang Yi immediately pointed at her and said, "You just don't know. You are so guilty." "Okay, this thing is working. Everyone, step back a little, don't let it blow you up." At this time, Chu Ran waved his hand to let them step back. I saw a large area of bubbles gurgling in the seawater at the end of the beach. Countless fishmen croaked and climbed onto the shore, rushing towards this side desperately. "This is the right amount." Chu Ran didn't panic at all, and with a glance, he controlled a large number of fishmen, and abyss annihilation began to clear the area. The manta rays came one after another, as if they were going crazy. Even if there were countless squawking murlocs dead in front of them, they had no intention of stopping. The terrifying murlocs are a group of abyssal creatures that prefer cannibalism. The effect of the demon-inducing ointment on them is a bit too outstanding. When Mu Qingwan saw this scene, she couldn't help but whisper, "When the surrounding murlocs are reduced to a very small level, murlocs from other places will be added, and the number will only increase. Chu Da, can you handle it?" When Qi Wenxuan heard this, he had to stand up and speak for his buddy. Believe it or not, in addition to being a little greedy for money and a little vindictive, whoever offends him will be miserably cheated by him. Apart from these, he is basically a human being. No shortcomings, very reliable, never do anything uncertain. Quote, "Ah, is this called praising someone? Isn't this speaking ill of someone in person?" Mu Qingwan hesitated and said, "I would like to ask, what is your relationship with Mr. Chu?" Qi Wenxuan showed his big white teeth. "Since we were young, we have known each other since we were in the orphanage. Don't worry, Ranzi is very smart. When we were young, we were bullied by other tall and strong children, and he always thought of revenge. Since then, from that moment on, I understood that it is right to trust Ranzi when things happen." Mu Qingwan hesitated for a moment, looking at Qi Wenxuan's exaggerated arm muscles, and thought to herself, "You are such a tough guy, how could anyone dare to bully you before? What kind of humanoid monster has such courage?" Fang Yi's face was serious now, and he continued, "I also believe in brother." Mu Qingwan looked at Fang Yi again. "I dare not ask, who are you, Mr. Chu?" Fang Yi smiled enigmatically and said proudly, "I am no one, but I believe it." "I understand, we are both in love with each other." Mu Qingwan rolled her eyes. "Then what are you proud of?" Before he finished speaking, Fang Yi's body lit up with an upgraded light, interrupting the conversation between the two. Now the narrow coast has been filled with monsters. With the blessing of magic-inducing ointment, the manta rays have completely lost their minds. They rush forward one after another without fear of death. They emerge from the sea as if they are endless and rush to the beach. They are stopped by Chu, who is standing there. Then he controlled part of it and killed it on the spot, which was very efficient. In a short time, Fang Yi was already at level 22, and Qi Wenxuan was at level 20. Although they gain experience while lying down, compared to the traditional leveling method, the experience that a single monster can gain is much reduced, but the number cannot be topped up. Now it is basically impossible to calculate how many mantas Chu Ran has wiped out. If they continue to grind at this rate, in another 30 minutes at most, they will be able to reach level 28, reaching the same level as the manta rays, and their experience will further begin to decay. But even if the experience decreases, as long as there is an endless supply of mantas, we can definitely reach level 30 today. Mu Qingwan said sourly, "It's comfortable to gain experience. If I had known Mr. Chu earlier, I probably wouldn't have had to suffer all the trouble of grinding monsters and leveling up." Fang Yi snorted twice, pretending to be serious and said, "You are saying that fate has not come, you can't force it. There will be opportunities in the future." Qi Wenxuan comforted him. By the way, he also asked Chu Ran, "Ranzi, how are you doing, can you still hold on?" Chu Ran rubbed his eyes and yawned, "It's not bad, but my eyes are a bit sore after staring for a long time. The monster spawning here is really fast, but the explosion rate is a bit touching. I killed so many manta rays, but I didn't see any. Whatever good stuff comes out as rubbish. He has already exploded a lot of equipment, and the infinity level luck brought by the 10-fold explosion rate is not there to see." However, Chu Ran glanced at the goods and found that the best ones were not gold level, and there was not even a piece of platinum equipment. Can only be said to be garbage, the explosion rate is too touching. This thing is very metaphysical. Some ethnic groups may be poor themselves. Whether they can sell goods depends entirely on luck. Quantitative changes may not lead to qualitative changes. Mu Qingwan followed, and then she thought of another question and said carefully, "Chu boss, let's occupy the monster exit and swipe it wildly. Soon, the monsters on the island will be wiped out. It is estimated that someone will come over to check the situation soon, so we have to hurry up." "Okay." Chu Ran nodded and said, "Isn't your job transfer mission also in the Devil's Sea? Where is it specifically? We will bring them both to level 28 or 29 later, and we will have the remaining experience. Just go to your job transfer mission." As time goes by, the experience gap between Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi in the early stage will only become smaller and smaller. When they reach level 25, it can be basically ignored. The difference is only one level at most. It is better to change the class of the little thief by the way. Lift both of them to 30. Mu Qingwan looked touched. Boss Chu is true to his word. My mission is in the Devil's Sea shipwreck area. The difficulty level is A. The main prop is a treasure hidden by the king of the Devil's Sea. I don't know what it is exactly. Let's go take a look and find out. Then Mu Qingwan explained. The monsters over there are basically at level 30 to 35. Let them brush them by themselves for a while, and they will be able to rise to level 30. Qi Wenxuan hummed twice. Of course, the little thief is right. When we are almost done, we can practice it ourselves with the little experience we have left. There is no need for you to take care of everything. You think so, Xiao Fang? Fang Yi nodded quickly, yes, yes. Then start speeding up. You can also go up and pick those frightened fishmen to chop. Chu Ran said, moving his shoulders, taking out the chicken leg stick and the boning knife, and with a glance, he blew a large group of devil fishmen into dust, clearing a short blank area. Before the next batch of fishmen arrived, the Abyss Kingship covered the entire field. The devil fishmen affected by the magic ointment seemed to have suddenly regained their sanity, and their movements became a little stiff. They were not controlled by the distortion of the abyss, but as if they saw some horrible monster, they all screamed in fear. Fang Yi and Qi Wenxuan looked at each other. There is such a good thing. They didn't ask too much, and fell silent tacitly, each taking out their own weapons. Wind Spirit Blessing. Fang Yi put a buff on himself and Qi Wenxuan. Although it was not as good as the auxiliary profession, it could also temporarily improve the attributes. Then the two rushed towards the devil fishmen with excitement. Just chop it up. At the same time, the professionals who were fighting hard against monsters on the isolated island suddenly felt something was wrong. A warrior knocked over the fishman elite monster in front of him, looked around, and muttered, "What's going on today? The number of monsters is wrong." "I noticed it too." His teammate followed up, "And the more you swipe, the fewer there are. It's really strange." More than one person noticed this abnormality. The number of monsters on the island was getting smaller and smaller. There was no subsequent replenishment. If the time was slightly extended, it would be immediately obvious that something was wrong. Someone sighed. Is the economy so bad now? Even the abyss monsters have gone off work early. What a world. Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi started to kill monsters by themselves, and their efficiency was improved immediately. After all, standing there and eating the team's share was not as good as the experience gained by killing them personally. In addition, Chu Ran had weakened those devil fishmen with the abyss kingship, so it was not difficult for the two to kill them. It took about 20 minutes. Fang Yi reached level 28 first. Seeing this, Qi Wenxuan stopped and said, Ran Zi, I'm also level 27, not much difference, how about we retreat first? Chu Ran heard this and used Abyss Annihilation to sweep away the last batch of monsters on the beach, saying, then retreat first and change places to spawn. Looking at the bubbles constantly bubbling out of the sea and the fish heads that fluttered to get ashore, Mu Qingwan was frightened and said, I hope no one will come to check the situation later, otherwise these devil fishmen will be enough for them to drink a pot. Qi Wenxuan scratched his head and said, not that bad, these devil fishmen, the ghost fishmen, look just like that. I can kill one with 2 slashes of my sword. Xiao Fang also killed several with his staff. Quote. Fang Yi reminded in a low voice, Brother Zan, the monsters we fight have been weakened by the big brother, so they are easier to bully. It may not be so easy for other professionals to deal with them. Then let them exercise. They are all professionals of about level 30. They can't hide in such places to gain experience all the time, right? If they are always protected by the convenience provided by high-level professionals, what will they do when they go to the front line in the future? Qi Wenxuan waved his hand and interrupted the topic. Fang Yi smiled bitterly, thinking that Brother Zan, you are really good at chatting. Aren't we being protected now? The two of us are equivalent to hiding under the big brother's crotch and output. In fact, Fang Yi has gained so much experience by lying down. Except that he felt very happy at the beginning, he is now a little embarrassed. If he wants to, he can arrange this kind of life of lying down and getting experience at any time in the Fang family. And Fang Yi comes from a big family and knows very well what value exchange is. He wanted to befriend Chu Ran, but it wasn't just to curry favor with him. Chu Ran didn't take it seriously when he was eating the food served by others, but once time went on, things would change. On the other hand, Qi Wenxuan was almost the same. Fang Yi wanted to say something, but he couldn't say it too bluntly, and his face was wrinkled with worry. Although Qi Wenxuan was always careless, he was particularly sharp in some aspects. He immediately understood Fang Yi's thoughts and said with a smile, Okay, Xiao Fang, I know what you mean. You may feel a little embarrassed for taking advantage of Ranzi's experience today and winning a wave with ease. This is normal. He stuffed things into my pockets every few days, gave me equipment, and now he is helping me level up. I feel embarrassed too. How big a face can you enjoy these with peace of mind, right? Fang Yi nodded silently, indicating that he agreed with Qi Wenxuan's words. Mu Qingwan on the side also pricked up her ears and eavesdropped openly. Only Chu Ran was speechless, and Qi Wenxuan started again. This guy's brain circuit is different from that of normal people. Most of the time, he seems to be a single-celled organism without a brain. Occasionally, he will have a flash of inspiration and say strange things. What's more, it's not a loss to lead them to level up. Chu Ran sighed, you know nothing about luck. Ignoring them, Chu Ran stood aside and began to count his gains. He brushed a bunch of bronze equipment and ordinary materials, most of which were not of high value. These could only make a small profit by selling in large quantities. The rest, 80 pieces of silver equipment, 36 pieces of gold equipment, and 2 pieces of platinum equipment. If these 28 to 30 level equipment are disposed of, at least 8-digit blue star coins will be sold. It turns out that making money is the happiest thing. After counting the gains, Chu Ran saw Qi Wenxuan still educating Fang Yi, who nodded his head from time to time with an expression of approval on his face. Fang Yi said embarrassedly, Brother Zan, what you said makes sense, but I just feel that I can't help my elder brother for the time being. If you always cling to someone, that's not a long-term solution. Of course, if you rely on others, the mountain will fall, and if you rely on others, they will run away. If you rely on others for everything, wouldn't that make you a bad boy? The problem is that there is still a long way to go. You are a mage and I am a warrior. As long as we grow up smoothly, there will always be a time when we can help Ranzi. Qi Wenxuan patted Fang Yi's shoulder and said seriously, Xiao Fang, gratitude to a person is not based on what you say, but on what you do. You help me today, and I help you tomorrow. This is called a brother. Fang Yi was stunned. I couldn't help staring at Qi Wenxuan. This brother Zan was really hard to figure out sometimes. Is he really stupid or just pretending? Mu Qingwan also felt nervous when she heard it, and she couldn't help but respect Qi Wenxuan. No wonder he is the childhood friend of Mr. Chu. This level is different, his ideological awareness still needs to be improved, and he can't always think about sucking up to the thigh. Fang Yi couldn't help but said, Brother Zan, you are really good at speaking. Qi Wenxuan smiled and said, this is also what Ranzi taught me. We used to deal with those little bullies in the welfare home. Ranzi formed a small group and let them help work in the welfare home to earn some pocket money. At the beginning, it was said that distribution according to work, and every time they came to ask for money, Ranzi would say. Qi Wenxuan imitated Chu Ran's tone and said in a deep voice, if you ask me for money today, I can give it to you. If you ask me for money tomorrow, I can still give it to you. What about the day after tomorrow? What will you do after you spend all your pocket money? Why not leave it all with me, as if you are helping me? When I become rich, I will help you again. Then we will be prosperous together, right? Ah, Fang Yi was stunned. This doesn't seem to be the same thing, right? It's not the same thing at all. Chu Ran interrupted. Don't brag. I will level you both up to level 30 today, and then you can go and level up by yourself. You will report to the academy in a month. Your good days will come soon. Report to the academy. Yes, there is this thing. Qi Wenxuan said awkwardly. I almost forgot. Ranzi, what should I prepare to report to the academy? Is it enough for me to reach level 30? Enough. Little thief, come and lead the way. Chu Ran waved to Mu Qingwan again, asking her to lead the way to the shipwreck area in the Devil's Sea, and then said, how should I know? How about you bring 2 kilograms of specialties? Qi Wenxuan said with a bitter face, hey, I have to continue to go to school after becoming a professional, which is too annoying. Mu Qingwan said, it's okay. In fact, the academy is more like a guild with less strict rules. There are not many daily activities. In addition to the necessary actual combat, battlefield experience, and some skills related to tactics, other subjects are all voluntary by professionals. After all, the research on the abyss changes every day. Only in the academy can you receive first-hand information and learn more. I think it is still necessary to join the academy. Quote. She blinked and said, by the way, the new professions in Haicheng and Baicheng seem to be collectively enrolled this time. Which academy did you enter? Mu Qingwan led the way and said crisply, I was admitted to Nanjing University last year. I am currently in my 2nd academic year. I mainly study knowledge related to exploring the abyss. Exploring the abyss. Do you want to join the Pioneer Legion? Fang Yi was shocked and couldn't help but say, with your small body, you can't even go to the abyss to fill the gap between the teeth of those high-level monsters. Are you looking for death? There are 99 levels of abyss, each level is a big world, equivalent to an alien dimension. Human beings now say that they have suppressed 10 levels of low-level abyss and created countless leveling areas, but that is just a nice way of saying it. In fact, the so-called suppression of the abyss is like cutting off the tentacles of a behemoth, completely sealing off everything, entrance to block the intrusion process. As for the remaining parts left in Blue Star, they are naturally the leveling areas after being suppressed. But that may only be the tip of the iceberg of the opponent's body. How terrifying is the abyss? No one in the human race who has been fighting against it for 200 years dares to say that they fully understand. The Pioneer Legion is a special organization that volunteers to explore the abyss and help humans understand the abyss. It is also the regiment with the highest death rate over the years. How can this be called seeking death? Mu Qingwan smiled. If no one went to explore the abyss, we would not be able to defend half of our homeland now. Don't forget, it was those first people who voluntarily went to the abyss and brought back the earliest strategies. The characteristics of the abyss, the types of known monsters, how those secret realms are formed, how to suppress the abyss area, turn it into a leveling area, and provide us with an endless supply of fresh blood. All these experience summaries are the result of the pioneering legions. Come back. In the era of chaos more than 200 years ago, the will of Blue Star awakened, which gave us the ability to fight against the abyss. However, the disunity within mankind caused us to waste a long period of development. If there were no pioneer corps to provide strategy, how can we fight against the nearly endless abyss? This topic was a bit heavy, and Fang Yi felt ashamed for a while, and whispered, I have never questioned the intentions of the Pioneer Legion, I just think it is too dangerous. In the past 200 years, too many people have died in the Pioneer Legion, and there have been many casualties. The proportion is too large, and there are still many people who are still alive but cannot come back. There are not many of the pioneers left. Quote. Mu Qingwan still smiled. So, it's our turn. It is now difficult for the Vanguard Legion to recruit people to explore the abyss. After all, there is no benefit. Those who are brave and powerful will choose to join guilds, plunder the resources of the abyss, grab a sum and run away, earning more than in Blue Star. Anyway, if you give me a choice, I will definitely join the Forerunners. After all, if you don't go and I don't go, what will happen if there is no one left in the Forerunners? Chu Ran glanced at Mu Qingwan quite unexpectedly. I didn't expect this little thief who was keen on treasure hunting to have such thoughts. After all, the impression she left on Chu Ran before was that she was the kind of person who didn't like to meddle in other people's business. However, Chu Ran shook his head and said, most people just ignore things that have nothing to do with themselves. 200 years is just a page of history for us, but for those who have experienced it, it is something that they have to go to every day when they open their eyes. Faced with the reality, some people take it one day at a time, and even if they are successful, there are also people who try to change something. Quote. But Chu Ran said in the next second, anyway, if the sky falls, there will be tall people holding it up. It's not our turn to worry about it now. Mu Qingwan chuckled. Yes, this topic is too heavy, so I won't talk about it anymore. So which school are you from? After that, we can form a team to kill monsters together. Mu Qingwan looked at Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi. Fang Yi was a little afraid to look at Mu Qingwan now, and whispered, I am from Yuqing Academy. Holy shit, a top university. You got it. Mu Qingwan's face was full of surprise. Fang Yi said sheepishly, it's just good luck. I helped organize a gathering in Tianmen City before. Because I am a mage, I was chosen by Yuqing Academy. I am from the Zongjin Academy. Qi Wenxuan said, Ranzi is from the Wisdom Academy. We are close to each other, but it is not necessarily the case for you too. Mu Qingwan smiled and said, first of all institutions of higher learning are actually in the capital, Imperial Capital, because after the great expansion of Blue Star, Imperial Capital has been able to accommodate all institutions of higher learning in the past 200 years. Compared with 200 years ago, now the scope of the Imperial Capital alone is larger than that of the previous Dragon Kingdom. This current model also facilitates the integration of resources and centralized protection of new professionals from all schools. Quote. Secondly, now that there is a teleportation array, distance is no longer an issue. But the Wisdom School and the War School are really close. We don't need to rely on the teleportation array, and they can be reached quickly by walking. After Mu Qingwan finished speaking, she invited Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi to add communications. Let's all add communications. If there is a chance, we can form a team to level up together, and I can also bring in a healer. This configuration is enough. It's perfect. Neither of them refused. Although Mu Qingwan looked small and had little fighting ability, she was a thief who was about to change her profession. No one knew how strong this profession was, which was biased toward the assassin system. If you're good, you can kill the boss with one blow. Chu Ran did not join their chat, but was just thinking about it. He was assigned to the Wisdom School. It seemed that there was no big problem. If what he did in Tianmen City was found out, there would probably be students from top schools now. People came and blocked the door. In that situation, I had the passive protection of the Abyss Gaze, which blocked any skills that could detect my information, and I was wearing a fish monster mask the whole time, and the name I reported was Shu Jin. Wait a minute, Shu Jin. Chu Ran reacted, isn't this name a loophole? If it was me, I would definitely check who Shu Jin was against. Even if Shu Jin had offended many people in school, if someone wanted to investigate, they could find me by continuously narrowing the scope. This loophole was left carelessly. I was still too excited. Chu Ran reflected on himself, then shook his head, thinking that this was not a big deal. Even if he was discovered, what would happen? If the school wanted to train me as a top genius, I would just open my mouth and eat. If someone wanted to make trouble, the worst thing would be to find a dangerous high-level abyss area and drill in, and whoever came would be blown to death. Then he would level up quietly, and would not leave the mountain until he reached level 200, and he would be invincible when he left the mountain. What's so scary? Chu Ran pondered for a moment, and there was really nothing to be afraid of. Just then, Mu Qingwan slowed down her pace and said softly, "Brother Chu, the Devil's Sea shipwreck area is just ahead. We have to go into the water. Do you two have enough endurance? Don't be stubborn. If you can't bear it, breathe in time. If you suffocate to death, it would be too cowardly." "That will definitely be enough. I majored in defense and minored in endurance. I added less strength, and the attribute distribution is biased towards survival." Qi Wenxuan grinned. "Don't worry, Gao Gao." "Me too," Fang Yi also replied. Mu Qingwan was still worried and took out 2 bottles of potion. "Drink the endurance potion first. My job transfer mission is mainly treasure hunting. I don't know how long the cycle will be. Don't overturn it. The market price of a bottle of endurance potion is a little more expensive than the life potion, about 50,000 per bottle. After all, more life potions are consumed, the market demand is not that big, and the output is not high." Qi Wenxuan was about to refuse. He still had a lot of attribute potions in his backpack, which were all given by Chu Ran. So far, he had not had time to use them. However, Fang Yi seemed to want to relieve the embarrassment of saying the wrong thing just now. He reached out to take the endurance potion, nodded and said, "Thank you, I will give you the money back." He handed a bottle of potion to Qi Wenxuan. Mu Qingwan waved her hand and said generously, "A little money is fine, there's no need to calculate it so clearly." Fang Yi opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Chu Ran before he could speak. "She is a rich woman. She can spend 5 million to ask me for help, but she still lacks the money for a bottle of potion. Okay, stop talking nonsense and hurry up. Time. Let's go." Chu Ran waved his hand. The 3 of them didn't say much. "Let's go to the sea together and aim at the Devil's Sea shipwreck area." The visibility in the sea was not high, as if surrounded by darkness. After entering the water, the 4 of them kept a certain distance. Mu Qingwan led the way at the front, while Chu Ran was at the end to ensure that Qi Wenxuan and Feng Yi would not fall behind if they encountered anything. In emergencies, you can take action in time. Once in the water, the 4 of them switched to communicating on the team channel. Qi Wenxuan sighed. "The sea water is so cold." Mu Qingwan immediately said, "The temperature of the Devil's Sea is indeed a little lower. It should be related to the contamination of the power of the abyss. If we bear with it for a long time, the shipwreck area is down there, a few kilometers at most. We can get there very quickly at our speed." Quote, "What? Is there still abyss power in this water?" A few bubbles came out of Qi Wenxuan's mouth. A few seconds later, he said on the team channel, "It seems really different. It doesn't taste salty. It's not salty and astringent like other seawater." Feng Yi was shocked and said, "Brother Zan, you seem to have said something outrageous." Mu Qingwan said speechlessly, "You two should be more serious, there are monsters in the sea too." Qi Wenxuan's cheerful voice sounded in the team channel, "I'm very curious, sorry." Chu Ran looked around. There were indeed many monsters hidden in the sea with visibility within a few meters at most. He could occasionally feel some malicious sights. There should be quite a few monsters. Chu Ran thought silently in his heart, and then asked in the team channel, "By the way, isn't the demon-inducing ointment you put on me still in effect?" "No, Mr. Chu, the demon-inducing ointment I put on you lasts for at most 1 hour, just a little bit. The effect decreases with time, and it is basically useless now." Mu Qingwan said, "And the manta rays are a group with fighting intelligence. You have killed so many murlocs. Once the effect of the magic attracting ointment is weakened, they will not dare to come to you at all. That is why we need to be careful of other monsters. In addition to the manta rays, there are also ghost jellyfish in the Devil's Sea. A little deeper, there will also be the Devil's Kingfish, which are giant elite monsters. It's quite tricky to meet them in the water." Speaking of this, Mu Qingwan added, "Although it's nothing to you, Boss, we'd better keep a low profile and go to the shipwreck area to get the things and leave. Chu Ran said calmly. I always feel that you are setting some strange flag, a job transfer task with a difficulty level of A. You just want to take the things and leave. What good things are you thinking about? That's right. Mu Qingwan chuckled. Fang Yi interjected. I don't know what the coefficient of my career change task will be. I heard that the higher the difficulty coefficient, the greater the possibility of a high-level career. But the job transfer tasks above a level are too difficult, so it's a bit confusing. Hearing Fang Yi's words, Mu Qingwan explained, the difficulty of job transfer is not random. Someone has already summarized it. The specific difficulty depends on your performance at the current career stage. For example, your performance in the level 30 range is relatively low, and you are very likely to get job transfer tasks below a level. If you perform very well, you may be able to get A level or above difficulty. Quote. Also, the relationship between the difficulty coefficient of job transfer and whether to transfer to a high-level job is currently not clear. However, if you are a mage, if you transfer to a higher-level job, it will be an A-level job at the lowest. There is nothing to worry about. A B-level thief like me needs to change my destiny by changing jobs. A good job in the thief system is almost the same as getting lucky. The best result is to transfer to the assassin system a few times in the future, or try to hunt demons. Man, this is a special profession like a shadow dancer. Yes, no matter how you change the profession of a mage, it won't be too bad. Fang Yi responded, and then comforted, thieves are not bad either. B-level combat professions are relatively powerful. As long as you can find an A-level profession, this will ensure combat effectiveness. Mu Qingwan smiled and took out an oil lamp that emitted a faint light, which did not affect its function even in the water. As we go deeper, the light of the oil lamp becomes brighter and brighter. Mu Qingwan took a look and said, we are almost there. The shipwreck area should be down below. She straightened her arms, and a large area of the dark underwater environment was illuminated. She could vaguely see that the bottom had reached the bottom. Some broken and decayed sunken ships were buried in the sea sand. Some were buried deeper, with only the masts exposed. Outside. Gududu. The sudden appearance of light alarmed many monsters in the shipwreck area. Some mantis who built their nests around the sunken ship were awakened, opened their scarlet eyes and looked over. The next second, these mantis screamed in terror, swung their limbs desperately, turned into arrows, and fled in all directions. The swarm of bees dispersed completely. Running so fast. Seeing this scene, Chu Ran, who was originally prepared to clear the monsters, was stunned. I didn't use any skills myself, so how could they run so fast? Mu Qingwan said, this is the fighting wisdom of the manta rays. Every murloc will leave a special smell before it dies. It can do this even if it is blown into dust. Boss, you have killed so many murlocs. Let's in their eyes, the 4 of them are just like 4 demon kings covered in black energy. Who wouldn't run away when they see this? After explaining, she excitedly raised the oil lamp and said in the team channel, without further ado, let's go treasure hunting. The wreck area is huge. Looking around, there are so many broken ships that no one can even see the end. Chu Ran felt that instead of calling it a shipwreck area, it would be more appropriate to call it a ship graveyard. The 4 of them sank to the bottom and walked on the sea sand. The speed was not slow. Mu Qingwan was still leading the way. The oil lamp in her hand seemed to be a guiding prop. As they got closer to the sunken ship of the King of the Devil Sea, the light became brighter. It will get brighter, and at this time the surrounding visibility is almost the same as outside. Occasionally, you can see several professionals working in teams fighting ghost jellyfish. However, most of the professionals who can enter the water have experienced a new level, are above level 30, and are much more mature than the newbies. When encountering an unfamiliar team, they will cautiously give up their position without saying hello. In the later stages, professionals who can survive to the advanced leveling area will become more vigilant. There is nothing they can do about it. After all, the advanced leveling area is, to put it bluntly, a wilderness. Even garrisoned cities cannot manage such a place. In case of encountering someone with a bad heart, yes, I will rob you completely and leave you no place to cry. If you are even more unlucky and encounter a professional from the Abyss sect, You will be killed on the spot and dumped anywhere, and no one will know until it attracts flies. Mu Qingwan also reminded in the team channel not to get too close and keep a safe distance from these professionals to avoid misunderstandings, but don't act too cute, otherwise you will be targeted by some people and come to rob them. Possible. Qi Wenxuan stared at Mu Qingwan's oil lamp, feeling his eyes were stung before he looked away, and said in the team channel, "Little thief, this lamp in your hand is so eye-catching, it is difficult for us to keep a low profile. Why don't you put the lights away first?" Mu Qingwan shook the oil lamp. "Without this thing, it would be very difficult for us to find the sunken ship. If that doesn't work, why not level up first? I'll let you all reach level 30 first. Whatever, you spend money anyway, it's up to you. If someone robs you, I will also provide security services. You can just add money afterwards." Chu Ran didn't care. With his current attributes, let alone this is a leveling area of 30 to 45, there are no decent professionals, it doesn't matter even if you change to a high-level leveling area. He is currently completely unbeatable at the same level. His multi-dimensional attributes are at least as good as those of level 80 to level 90 professionals. He has no attribute shortcomings. Moreover, this is the abyss. Who would really come to him without opening their eyes? If you don't accept it, just touch it and it'll be over. Then let's change the class of the little thief first. Qi Wenxuan also said that he was not in a hurry to level up. He was just a little short of reaching level 30, and it was the same with practicing by himself. Fang Yi also had no objection. "Just in time to see what your new career is, I'm also quite curious." "All right." Mu Qingwan stopped and raised the oil lamp that was becoming increasingly dazzling. "The light is getting brighter and brighter. It should be nearby. I hope it's not buried underneath. It will be difficult to find it." Hearing this, Chu Ran kicked the sea sand, and the fine sand floated up and slowly dispersed. "You didn't find out clearly before you came here. If it's down here, 5 million won't be enough. The amount of this project is too big." "Well, I asked around, and I heard that the shipwreck of the King of the Devil's Sea is the largest in this area, and someone has done a similar job transfer mission before." After Mu Qingwan finished speaking, her expression changed. "Wait a minute, the biggest sunken ship." She hurried upstream. When Chu Ran saw this, he also thought of something. Instead of following Mu Qingwan's example, he looked directly at the sunken ship next to him and blasted it with an abyss annihilation blast. Bang! There was a deep explosion, and the belly of the sunken ship was blown to pieces by Chu Ran on the spot. Countless debris floated with the water. Chu Ran waved to Qi Wenxuan and Feng Yi and walked over. Then he just walked all the way, blasted all the way, and blasted away downwards. Seeing Chu Ran's actions, Feng Yi also understood and said in surprise, "Wait a minute, this area under our feet is actually the ship of the King of the Devil's Sea." "So that's it." Qi Wenxuan also nodded, not sure whether he really understood or pretended to understand. At this time, Mu Qingwan's voice sounded on the team channel, and she said with a bit of excitement, "Brother Chu, I found it. In fact, the surrounding area is surrounded by the sunken ship of the King of the Devil's Sea. It turns out that's the case. No wonder we approached the sunken ship at the bottom, the oil lamp is already on." Fang Yi, "Ah, didn't I just say that? You blocked me." "Yeah, then what are you talking about? Come down quickly." Chu Ran said. "I opened a way out and walked." What does it mean to open a road?" Mu Qingwan was startled, but she swam back quickly and found that Chu Ran had exploded the belly of a sunken ship. His expression was very complicated, his mouth was long, and he spit out several bubbles. "Can you still play like this?" She was surprised and happy, and immediately rushed in. Following the passage that Chu Ran had blown up, she quickly caught up with them. At this time, the oil lamp in her hand had turned dark green, and the wick inside was burning with green flames, which looked very strange. Seeing this scene, Mu Qingwan nodded and said, "That's right, this is indeed the ship of the King of the Devil's Sea, but I didn't expect its ship to be so big. Is there a huge ship buried underneath this entire shipwreck area? You must know that the shipwreck area covers at least hundreds of kilometers. What kind of scenery would it look like if such a huge creature was traveling on the sea?" Mu Qingwan felt fascinated just thinking about it. "Don't sigh there. What are you looking for? Let's talk about it after you find it. If you really like it, you can pay me and I'll dig out the whole ship and tear it into pieces and take it away." Chu Ran stretched out his hand in front of Mu Qingwan and waved it, saying, "Let's get down to business first." Mu Qingwan nodded immediately, and then said, "We have to find the treasure room of the King of the Sea first. However, since this ship is so big, it may be difficult for us to find the target in a short time. Wait, let me think about it." Her brain was working fast, and the smell of the thief soon gave her inspiration. She shook the oil lamp and said in the team channel, "Let's go to the captain's room first. There should be some clues in the captain's room." Chu Ran heard her words and shook his head and said, "You are worthy of being called a thief." After that, he looked directly at the floor under his feet, and a deep annihilation blasted over, and immediately opened a big pit. Remember, whether it's the abyss or the blue star, anyone who wants to hide treasures will hide them down there. Chu Ran said calmly, "Let's go down and search. We'll blow all the way there. There must be a treasure room." "Brother, what you said makes sense. Ran Zi is right." Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi were very supportive. Mu Qingwan opened her mouth, but couldn't say anything. She only spit out a few weak bubbles. How big is the shipwreck of the King of the Devil's Sea? Before this, perhaps no one could give an accurate answer, but now, at least Mu Qingwan dared to say that she knew how high the ship was. After all, it had been drilled through, and the next layer was the seabed sand. Chu Ran completed this project, which took about 8 minutes in total. He blasted through the shipwreck of the King of the Devil's Sea and came to the bottom layer. Mu Qingwan spit out 2 bubbles and raised the oil lamp in her hand. Originally there was only a cluster of dark green flames, but now it almost filled the oil lamp. From time to time, a distorted and terrifying face would appear inside, roaring silently at her. Chu Ran glanced at the oil lamp and said, "Your thing is really abstract. It doesn't bite people, right? Ah, it shouldn't be a problem, right? This is a special prop. If I weren't a thief, it would be hard to get it." Mu Qingwan was a little embarrassed. She also felt that the oil lamp was becoming more and more abstract, and then shared the relevant attributes. Ghost First Mate's Lantern, special item. The ambitious Ghost First Mate, once the right-hand man of the King of the Devil's Sea, was eventually devoured by ambition and tried to challenge the authority of the King of the Sea. After his death, his soul was extracted and locked in a lantern, still coveting the treasure of the King of the Sea. "The King of the Devil's Sea, you want to challenge me? Very good, come on. My friend, the loser will be tortured by the fire of the abyss forever." You killed the fighting sailor of the King of the Devil's Sea, LV-33. Judgment, level suppression, experience attenuation. Passive judgment takes effect, experience plus 10. It's only a level 33 monster, so don't make a fuss. Chu Ran patted Mu Qingwan's shoulder and continued to walk forward. He discovered that there were many ancient corpses wearing pirate uniforms and sailor uniforms lying here and there. Most of them had turned into skeletons, but some still maintained part of their bodies. I don't know if it's because he was very powerful during his lifetime. Most of the corpses in this part are similar to human beings, but they have some inhuman features, such as fish scales, tails of unknown creatures, and dark brown flesh wings. Except for the monster at the beginning, the other corpses were motionless. A few people passed through safely. The further they went, they found that the surrounding walls, ground, and even ceiling were full of traces of battle. Even after so many years, most of it was decayed and blurred, but it could still be vaguely seen that a very fierce battle had taken place here. Chu Ran looked at the traces and the corpses on the ground and said, "What's going on? Are they still fighting among themselves?" Mu Qingwan said, "According to limited records, the King of the Devil's Sea sank all the treasures and the ship into the bottom of the sea before his death. His crew did have a civil strife. In order to compete for the title of the next King of the Sea, basically all are almost dead. However, there are also records showing that the King of the Devil's Sea left a powerful abyss curse before his death. Any being who covets his treasure will fall into inexplicable madness and be tortured forever in the cemetery he prepared for himself. God is nagging, I've been looking for a long time and I can't even find anything valuable. What kind of treasure is there in this place? I've been bragging all day long. Is he going to start the age of discovery? There is no one reliable. Wait until I get into the abyss and rectify this unhealthy trend." Chu Ran's face was full of disgust, and he didn't look down on this King of the Devil's Sea at all. Kicking away the corpse blocking the road, Chu Ran quickened his pace and said, "Hurry up, I feel like the next place is the treasure room." "Ranzi, don't kick around. I don't know how old these corpses are. There might be some kind of trap." Qi Wenxuan suddenly awakened his clever talent at this moment and avoided the corpses. Fang Yi shivered, not because he was afraid, but because he felt a little uncomfortable. Brother Zan, wait for me." He hurried to catch up. Although Mu Qingwan was a little helpless, she did not dare to delay and hurriedly followed. As soon as the few people walked away, the corpses behind them all stood up slowly as if they were being pulled by invisible threads. There were green flames jumping in his eyes. Click, click, click. A skeleton man supported his chin, and then picked up a rusty sword. The other corpses followed suit. After grabbing their weapons, they gathered in front of a monster with red flesh wings growing on its back. Its body is well preserved, with basically no changes except for being slightly swollen after being soaked for too long. Bang! It kicked to pieces and smashed the pile of debris next to it. Many rags floated up, revealing a warhammer made of blue gemstones. The half-human creature grabbed the warhammer and slammed it on the ground, making a muffled thud. Its dark eyes were full of cruelty and violence, and its voice was clearly conveyed, "Another guest is here. It has been more than 10 years since I tasted the taste of fresh food. Come on, let's see if this guest will bring us any surprises." It carried the warhammer and walked in the direction Chu Ran and the others left. Dozens of crippled skeleton soldiers holding scraps of metal quickly followed. Chu Ran, who had already reached the next area, stopped and looked back suspiciously, feeling that there seemed to be something strange behind him. But this time, he didn't feel the reminder from the abyss gaze, it was just a simple intuitive reaction. "Brother Chu, what's wrong?" Mu Qingwan asked. Chu Ran shook his head and said, "It doesn't feel right. We didn't meet any monsters along the way. It stands to reason that this ship is basically equivalent to a city 200 years ago. No matter how rubbish the king of the Devil Sea is, there must be hundreds of thousands of people under his command, right? Why did he encounter a monster after walking for a long time? Where are the other monsters? Are they dead?" Chu Ran complained. This was the source of what he felt was wrong. In such a large area, even if there are not a large number of monsters, there must be at least a few dozens of them, right? There is only one in a long time, which is indeed a bit wrong. The king of the Devil's Sea should have more than 200,000 sailors at his peak. He occupied a large sea area and had dozens of large ships to his name. The overall estimate should be several 100,000 troops. But after his death, the troops are almost dispersed. Apart from the crew on this ship, there should be no other subordinates left. Quote. Mu Qingwan thought for a while and then said, "But this should not be considered a leveling area. Monster resources have not been regenerated. After so many years, they have probably been wiped out by others. If that's true, the treasure room would have been emptied out long ago." Chu Ran frowned, thinking of the Horror Lord's treasure room. The poor thieves in that place would shed tears when entering, and even mice would have to put half a bag of rice in there. It's because I have been bald by other professionals over the years. If the same situation exists here, then Chu Ran has reason to suspect that there are no feathers in the treasure room. Even the floor was probably dug up and taken away. It doesn't matter. My quest items are not particularly valuable. Generally speaking, the main items that come out of the job transfer quest have special effects. Only I can use them. They are not valuable to the outside world. After Mu Qingwan explained, she suddenly felt something under her feet. Even in the water, there was a clear audible click. As a thief, her most critical passive, sharp intuition, immediately issued a warning, not about danger, but about the induction of treasures. "I seem to have triggered some mechanism," Mu Qingwan said. As soon as the voice fell, a loud rumbling sound echoed around. The water around suddenly became violent and rushed to both sides. It seemed to be draining water. With a loud rumbling sound, the water level was quickly emptied, and Mu Qingwan immediately whispered, "This place has become a closed environment." She tried to take a breath to confirm the airflow, then squatted down and looked at the mechanism she had stepped on. He reached out and wiped away the sand, revealing a very inconspicuous disc, integrated with the floor, with complex patterns carved on it, one ring after another, and many strange words. Chu Ran also squatted down and took a glance, and joked, Little thief, don't you know a lot about history? Tell me, what is written on it? At this time, Feng Yi stood aside and silently used his staff to activate the wind spirit, turning it around on several people, blowing off the water so that they would not feel wet and uncomfortable. Then he approached the mechanism and took a few glances, and said, "Brother, this seems to be. There are some kind of abyssal characters. There are currently thousands of known abyssal characters. Many different abyssal races use unique characters. We humans have only deciphered 200 to 300 kinds." Quote. He shook his head. If this is unknown writing, no one knows what it means. This is ancient Enwen. This word means brave in the common language of the abyss. Mu Qingwan rubbed the characters with her index finger and whispered, "There are probably a few hymns written when sacrificing to the gods. I guess is it the belief of the king of the Devil's Sea?" She looked at it carefully for a while and then chanted, "The great God of wisdom and truth, the only God who holds almighty power." When she thought of this, she immediately shut up and said fearfully, "Too bad, the king of the Devil's Sea is still a fanatic. No wonder so many crew members went crazy. They were all probably sacrificed by him. Why are you so talkative?" Chu Ran frowned and said, "Is there really a god in the abyss? I thought that was a slogan casually made by the Abyss sect to attract people to join their gang." Mu Qingwan stood up and said, "The gods mentioned by the Abyss sect are actually just some top-level abyssal creatures with powerful strength. Most of them cannot come to Blue Star in person. Even if they do come, they will have to pay a huge price to weaken their own power, such as those who invaded back then. The masters of the Legion and the kings of all races, so these top abyss creatures give their blood to the human race for convenience, and they are regarded as gods." Quote. However, real abyssal gods do exist. At least we can often find records about gods in the leveling areas transformed by suppressing the abyss tentacles. Some abyssal creatures have a powerful entry called fanatic, which is very difficult, almost half undead. Mu Qingwan's face wrinkled slightly. If the king of the Devil's Sea is a fanatic, we have to be careful. This guy may be resurrected. Resurrection is resurrection. Chu Ran showed off his boning knife. Can't we just kill him again? Ah, Mu Qingwan said. According to speculation, the king of the Devil's Sea is probably a creature of around level 200. Of course, if he is resurrected, he may not be that strong, but it will also be difficult to deal with. It's not something we can defeat. Of level 200, Chu Ran thought about it and realized that it wasn't impossible to fight. After all, the fat-headed dragon in Tianmen City was level 207. Although the fat-headed dragon had been severely beaten by the Yao Light Sword Master before and forced himself to use forbidden skills, Chu Ran had personally verified the power of his skills and could cause damage to such advanced creatures. As long as he could break the defense, how could he do it? Can't kill. Ranzi, look. Suddenly, Qi Wenxuan slapped Chu Ran, pointed forward and shouted. Several people looked over immediately and saw a huge statue rising up. At the same time, there were countless particle-like substances around it that gathered and formed from bottom to top, as if they were created out of thin air, turning the scene into a magnificent and solemn palace. There's even sacred colored lights hanging from the curved ceiling. Boom! The statue rose to its limit, about 10 meters, and made a muffled sound. A blue transparent step slowly extended in front of several people, directly to the open space in front of the statue, as if inviting people to make a pilgrimage. Chu Ran looked at the statue and couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman. He was wearing a complicated and gorgeous robe. The hood of the burqa covered half of his face, only revealing his perfect chin, and he kept his arms open. Behind it, there is a ring composed of countless angled stars, forming a huge circle, symbolizing the sacred and inviolable power. Shadow Guardian. The judgment takes effect, the defense coefficient is calculated, this damage has been exempted. Soul. At this moment, a prompt appeared in front of him, which surprised Chu Ran. Being attacked. When? What happened? Although he was in a state of confusion, Chu Ran reacted immediately and warned, "Don't stare at the statue, there is something evil in this thing." "Huh, is there a ghost?" Qi Wenxuan looked surprised, "But don't scare me, you know I'm most afraid of those things." Seeing that he answered freely and there was nothing unusual, Chu Ran relaxed a little, but frowned again the next second. Because Feng Yi and Mu Qingwan were obviously tricked. They looked at the statue dreamingly, with dull expressions, as if they could no longer hear the sounds from the outside world. Fang Yi had even walked forward to step onto the transparent steps. Xiao Fang. Qi Wenxuan held Fang Yi down. At this time, he also realized that something was wrong. Ranzi, what is going on? Chu Ran also stopped Mu Qingwan in advance and said, it should be a special attack. They were hit. Didn't you look at the statue? Qi Wenxuan said, I didn't look at it. I thought it was a treasure just now, but it turned out to be a broken stone. What's so interesting about it? Chu Ran nodded. Okay, it seems that the charlatan can't fool the fool, you are lucky. Qi Wenxuan held Fang Yi to prevent him from looking for the statue, and looked around. What should we do with them? By the way, I just realized that we are not in a shipwreck at the bottom of the sea. How did we suddenly get to this place? Chu Ran said. It's not clear yet, but it is probably a trick. We should still be where we were just now. Forget it, we will know after trying. Chu Ran was too lazy to think, and blasted the statue with Abyss Annihilation. Buzz. The invincible Abyss Annihilation actually blasted a circle of water-like ripples in front of the statue, emitting colorful glimmers. The statue was intact. Useless. Chu Ran was not surprised, but just observed the status of his own skills. It was still in the CD state, proving that this place was still in the abyss. It did exempt an attack just now, indicating that the attack method of this ghost thing did not jump out of the scope of the power of the abyss. The situation is very good. Chu Ran grinned and took out the chicken stick, activating the crushing feature. Then how can I be bullied by you? Abyss Annihilation. According to Chu Ran's experience, when one's own skills are stacked to more than 100 and released, there will be a very powerful effect. For example, the status shock before the evolution of the Abyss Kingship can cause weather changes in a range of hundreds of miles. The sky is covered with dark clouds, and a demon phantom overlooks the earth in the clouds, staring at the shadow forest and scaring all the monsters to death. Although this effect can only be achieved because the monster level of the shadow forest is too low, at present, the more powerful the abyss creatures are, the less they will be affected by this trick, but it does not affect the power of this skill. Think about the description of the skill again. Weaken the abyss creatures with a lower status than oneself within the field of vision. Then it is easy to understand. When the skill is stacked to a certain number of times, it will cause changes. The phantom in the sky is equivalent to one's field of vision. If it sees it, it is equivalent to seeing it. And the limit of this change is probably to use the skill more than 100 times, like bombing. So Chu Ran came to the conclusion. The skill of Abyss Annihilation may also have special effects if it is released more than 100 times. Anyway, no matter whether I guess it right or not, the bombing is done. Chu Ran blasted out hundreds of Abyss Annihilation in one breath, and the colorful ripples in front of the statue continued to spread, densely connected into one piece. And in the center of those ripples, several cracks like broken mirrors emerged silently. With a click, a twisted nothingness with spider web cracks on the edge appeared above the statue, and it was still expanding, crushing and swallowing all the water ripples. A strong suction made Chu Ran's body shake. Chu Ran thought to himself, and quickly grabbed Qi Wenxuan with one hand, and picked up Mu Qingwan with the other hand and clamped her under his arm. As a result, Fang Yi was pulled by the suction and staggered and fell, and flew over there like a gourd rolling on the ground. Chu Ran cursed inwardly and released the skill of his right eye in a hurry. Abyss Distortion. Fang Yi suddenly stopped in midair in a strange posture. This skill can slow down the flow of time and space of the recipient. The degree of control probably depends on the strength of the person. Chu Ran can control Fang Yi to death. Stand firm, Chu Ran told Qi Wenxuan, then he picked Fang Yi up and handed him to Qi Wenxuan. Then he looked at the void crack above the statue and thought secretly, did I blow up a black hole? A foreign passage, could it be the abyss on the other side? Qi Wenxuan was also stunned and said, Ran Zi, don't tell me that you made this. Before Chu Ran could speak, the void crack suddenly flashed. The strong light filled the entire temple. The next second, Chu Ran and Qi Wenxuan heard a scream of hatred that was indistinguishable between male and female. He cursed a few words they couldn't understand, which should be the language of the abyss. After a roar, it was quiet. The light dissipated. The original location of the statue was completely clean, and the curved ceiling had disappeared by more than half, with only a lot of fine dust floating around. So this is called the annihilation of the abyss. Chu Ran thought, isn't this a joke? You killed the broken authority of the Almighty God of Truth, false God of the abyss. Almighty God of Truth, one of the false gods of the abyss. He scattered his authority on the land of the abyss, and the reason is still unknown. Almighty God of Truth, believe in me, follow me, serve me. I am the truth. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.